Long before ink ever met paper, before empires carved their names into stone, something else began shaping the mountains of Peru. Masses of rock, each weighing more than a modern machine could lift, rest in perfect balance, stacked and carved with a precision that defies the tools we believe once existed. No mortar, no markings of a known people, only silence and impossible geometry. Who placed them here? And how, without wheels, iron, or written plans, were blocks fitted so tightly that even a blade cannot slip between them? From high in the Andes to hidden valleys lost in time, these prehistoric megastructures force us to reconsider the limits of ancient human capability, or the presence of something we've yet to understand. In this video, we'll step into the shadows of these towering enigmas and begin uncovering the secrets Peru's stones have guarded for thousands of years. High in the Andean highlands, where the air thins and the horizon dissolves into a layered tapestry of mountains, lies a boulder that seems to belong more to the sky than to the earth. Set apart on a gentle slope in the Cusco region of Peru, this massive stone emerges from the landscape as both monument and enigma. Carved into its surface is the unmistakable image of a crescent moon, smooth, precise, and deliberate. The local Quechua name for the site, Quillarumiyoc, translates to the stone of the moon. And even before history speaks, the name alone evokes ancient reverence. At dawn, pale light brushes across the carving, illuminating the curve of the crescent as if awakening a forgotten symbol. The stone, though worn by centuries of wind and rain, retains a remarkable clarity. Its placement feels intentional, not random. It is not simply a rock that happens to bear an image. It is a stone that appears to have been chosen, shaped, and positioned with care, perhaps for observation, ceremony, or something else now lost to memory. Archaeologists generally attribute Quillarumiyoc to the Inca civilization, who ruled this region in the centuries before the Spanish arrival. Within Inca cosmology, the moon, Mama Quilla, was a powerful deity associated with femininity, fertility, time, and water. It is believed that this site may have served as a lunar observatory or ritual space, where priests marked specific phases of the moon in alignment with agricultural and ceremonial calendars. Nearby, one can still see traces of carved steps, terraces, and channels that suggest a broader architectural purpose. These elements support the idea that Quillarumiyoc was once part of a sacred landscape, carefully integrated into the rhythms of the sky. Yet, as compelling as these explanations may be, they do not answer every question. The Inca were extraordinary engineers, but much of their architectural achievement was built upon foundations that predated them. In many sites throughout Peru, the Inca are known to have inherited structures from older, more obscure cultures, expanding, refining, and repurposing what they found. This raises the possibility that Quillarumiyoc may be even older than history currently suggests. The carving's simplicity, its lack of surrounding inscriptions, and its somewhat isolated position have led some researchers to wonder whether it originated in a forgotten chapter of Andean prehistory, one that predates even the earliest known civilizations in the region. There is also the matter of the stone itself. It is not an easily workable rock. Carving such a clean, symmetrical crescent into its hardened surface would have required advanced knowledge of stoneworking and an investment of time and energy. Why devote such effort to a single symbol on a lone boulder, away from major population centers? Was it a marker of territory, a celestial map, a shrine, or something meant only for those who understood how to interpret it? Local legends provide no singular answer, only layers of myth. Some stories speak of it as a gateway between worlds, a point where the boundaries between the heavens and the earth grow thin during certain lunar alignments. Others say it was used by priests to predict eclipses or seasonal changes, vital knowledge in a land where survival depended on harmony with nature's cycles. These tales are not offered as fact, but as reflections of how long the mystery has lived in the collective memory of the region. More speculative theories have also drifted into the conversation over the years. A few fringe thinkers suggest that Quillarumiyoc could be evidence of contact with an unknown or lost civilization, one that possessed a deeper understanding of astronomy than we currently credit to ancient cultures of the Andes. Some go even further, proposing cosmic connections or assistance from non-human intelligences. Such ideas remain well outside mainstream archaeology, yet they persist, perhaps because the stone seems, in its quiet way, to invite wonder. Standing before it, one cannot help but feel a peculiar stillness. There is no dramatic ruin towering overhead, no sprawling complex demanding explanation, only a curve carved in stone and the immense sky above it. And yet, in its silence, Quillarumiyoc speaks. It suggests intention, belief, knowledge, and perhaps something that has slipped through the cracks of recorded time. Was this simply a religious symbol of the Inca, honoring their lunar goddess? Or is it the last remaining fragment of a much older message, designed for eyes that no longer walk this land? As the moon rises and its pale light aligns, once again, with the ancient carving, the question remains suspended in the thin mountain air, waiting, as it always has, for an answer that may never come. As the clouds begin to lift from the high Andean terraces of Quillarumiyoc, our journey traces the contours of Peru downward, following the valleys toward the arid coastal plains. There, where the desert meets the Pacific, lies another testament to human ambition and ingenuity, Chan Chan. Stretching across nearly 20 square kilometers, it is the largest adobe city ever constructed in the Americas, its sprawling walls and intricate compounds a silent monument to a civilization that flourished long before the arrival of the Spanish. From a distance, Chan Chan appears as a muted expanse of sun-baked earth, walls rising like the remnants of an ancient labyrinth, their ochre tones blending seamlessly with the surrounding sand and sky. Up close, the details emerge, elaborately carved friezes depicting waves, fish, birds, and geometric motifs, some almost surreal in their repetition, hinting at a culture attuned not only to survival, but to artistry and symbolism. Mainstream scholarship identifies Chan Chan as the political and administrative center of the Chimu civilization, which thrived between roughly 900 and 1470 CE. The city's layout suggests careful planning, walled compounds, each serving as the residence for elite families, wide ceremonial plazas, storage facilities capable of holding vast quantities of maize, beans, and fish. The scale is staggering. Some of the walls reach up to 12 meters high, while the city's network of canals and reservoirs demonstrates a mastery of water management in one of the driest regions on Earth. Archaeologists marvel at the precision with which adobe bricks were produced, each one uniform, interlocking, and durable, a practical solution in a place where stone was scarce but sand and clay were abundant. Yet, for all its practical sophistication, Chan Chan retains an air of mystery that invites questions beyond conventional explanations. How could a civilization with no known metallurgy comparable to the Andean highlands move and erect walls of such magnitude? Why did the Chimu choose this particular layout, with its meticulous alignment and separation of compounds, which seems almost ritualistic as much as functional? Some researchers point to astronomical alignments within the city, suggesting that its orientation may have been designed to track solar or lunar events, or perhaps to align with coastal currents vital for fishing and trade. Others note that the sheer density and scale of construction seem to surpass what a population of the known Chimu could have feasibly built in the time allotted by the archaeological record. Even more enigmatic are the motifs carved into the walls. Many friezes depict marine life, fish, waves, and pelicans, but interspersed among these are abstract designs that do not correspond to anything easily identified. Could these have been symbolic markers, a coded language whose meaning has been lost? Or are they purely decorative, intended to convey power and sophistication? Some fringe theories suggest that these patterns reflect knowledge of mathematical or astronomical principles far beyond what the Chimu are credited with, hinting at a possible legacy of earlier cultures, or perhaps contact with a lost source of knowledge whose traces remain hidden in the sands. The question of sustainability also deepens the intrigue. Chanchan was built entirely of adobe, a material notoriously vulnerable to erosion from wind and rain. Over centuries, the city has suffered damage from occasional floods and the harsh coastal climate, yet its core structures endure. Was the Chimu mastery of adobe merely practical, or did it reflect an understanding of techniques lost to history, methods that allowed them to create structures lasting centuries in an environment that seems hostile to permanence? And why, after such monumental effort, did the civilization decline so abruptly when the Inca eventually conquered the region? The abandonment of the city left it largely intact, but eerily still, a vast canvas of human ambition frozen in time. Walking through Chanchan today, the scale of the city overwhelms the senses. Narrow passageways lead to open plazas, and the rhythm of the walls, their undulating surfaces, seems to create a cadence, almost like a heartbeat of a once thriving metropolis. The silence is profound, punctuated only by the occasional gust of wind carrying desert sand through open doorways. It is easy to imagine the city alive with activity, the clang of tools, the chatter of merchants, the ceremonial processions of a culture at the height of its power. And yet, the absence of definitive records leaves so much to interpretation, opening space for speculation, for wonder, and even for skepticism. Modern technology has begun to reveal hidden layers of the city. Subsurface scans suggest that beneath the visible walls lie foundations and chambers that have not yet been excavated. Could these contain further clues about the city's construction, its social hierarchy, or its sudden collapse? Some researchers even propose that tunnels or storage complexes extend beyond the known boundaries of the city, hinting at an urban footprint far larger than currently mapped. It is as if Chanchan continues to withhold its secrets, a silent sentinel guarding its history against the passage of time. As the sun dips toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the labyrinthine walls, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe and humility. Here, in the desert near the Pacific, human ambition meets environmental challenge. Artistry blends with practicality, and knowledge, both known and lost, stands etched into the earth. Chanchan, like Quillarumiyoc in the high Andes, invites us to ask questions without expecting answers. How did this city rise to such monumental scale, and what knowledge, skills, or inspirations guided its builders? And perhaps the most compelling question of all, what remains hidden beneath the surface, waiting for future generations to uncover the full story of a civilization that built not just a city, but a testament to human potential that continues to defy explanation? From the arid plains of the coast, where Chanchan rises like a sun-baked monument to human ambition, our journey moves northeast, tracing the Andean foothills toward the cloud-kissed mountains of the Amazonas region. There, perched atop a ridge that slices through the mist, lies Kuelap. At first glance, it appears as a massive fortress, a stone city frozen in time, its walls towering over the surrounding forest like a sentinel keeping watch over secrets long forgotten. The sheer scale of Kuelap is immediately striking. A continuous outer wall, some 20 meters high in places, encloses over 400 structures, forming a compact, labyrinthine city that seems to defy the steep, rugged terrain on which it rests. Mist drifts through narrow passageways, curling around circular homes and ceremonial enclosures, giving the site an almost ethereal quality, as if it exists on the boundary between the tangible world and memory itself. Mainstream archaeology identifies Kuelap as the ceremonial and residential center of the Chachapoya culture, which flourished from roughly 900 to 1470 CE, before succumbing to Inca conquest. The site's strategic location atop a ridge has long been interpreted as defensive, a fortress to repel invaders and safeguard the community. The walls, constructed of massive limestone blocks, are notable for their precision, some adorned with intricate geometric patterns and anthropomorphic figures whose exact meaning remains elusive. Circular structures, carefully arranged within the enclosure, suggest an organized society with distinct social hierarchies. Excavations have revealed evidence of domestic life, including cooking hearths, storage spaces, and finely crafted ceramics, indicating a community that was as sophisticated socially as it was architecturally. Yet, for all the practical explanations, Kuelap retains an aura of mystery that challenges straightforward interpretation. How could a culture, lacking the large-scale mechanical technology we associate with modern construction, transport and position stones of such size atop a ridge accessible only by steep, narrow paths? The walls themselves are built with remarkable uniformity, their sheer mass enough to suggest careful planning and extraordinary labor coordination. Some stones bear intricate carvings that seem symbolic, yet their exact purpose, ritual, protective, or purely decorative, remains unknown. And then there is the question of scale. Kuelap is larger than many contemporary settlements in the Andes, and yet it is almost entirely hidden from view, shielded by clouds, forest, and mountain. Was its location purely defensive, or did it serve a more complex purpose, perhaps astronomical or spiritual, now lost to time? The Chachapoya are often called the warriors of the clouds, and Kuelap seems to embody that title. Its elevated position affords breathtaking views of the surrounding valleys and rivers, yet it also isolates the city in ways that remain puzzling. Archaeologists have noted alignments between certain structures and solar events, hinting at an observational or ceremonial function. Some theorists propose that Kuelap may have been more than a fortress or town. It could have been a site of astronomical observation, a calendar etched in stone and terrain, marking solstices, equinoxes, or other celestial events critical to Chachapoya life. Others point to the patterns of tunnels and passageways within the walls, suggesting hidden chambers or escape routes, evidence of a civilization that valued secrecy, security, and perhaps knowledge we have yet to fully uncover. Speculative interpretations extend even further. Some suggest that Kuelap represents a continuity of knowledge from an earlier, unknown culture, absorbed and expanded upon by the Chachapoya. Could techniques for moving massive stones, aligning structures, and creating long-lasting masonry have been inherited from a forgotten people? Others, less constrained by conventional reasoning, imagine that Kuelap's precise engineering and isolated location hint at a civilization operating with knowledge or resources now lost to history. The very act of constructing such a city atop a ridge, with walls soaring against gravity itself, seems to challenge what we understand about pre-Columbian engineering in the region. Walking through Kuelap today, the experience is both humbling and disorienting. Narrow stairways and sloping terraces wind unpredictably, leading to circular homes, ceremonial spaces, and mysterious openings in the walls. The forest presses close, its humidity clinging to the stone, and the sound of distant waterfalls echoes faintly through the mist. It is easy to imagine the city alive with the bustle of Chachapoya life, the clang of tools, the smell of hearth fires, the rhythm of daily activity punctuated by ritual observances. And yet, despite centuries of study, much remains hidden beneath the surface. Debris-filled foundations, partially excavated structures, and the secrets that the dense forest keeps in shadow. Modern technology has revealed tantalizing hints. Ground-penetrating radar suggests that subterranean chambers may lie beneath some of the circular structures, while aerial surveys indicate that the outer wall may extend farther than previously believed. Could these discoveries alter our understanding of Kuelap's size, purpose, or social complexity? Or do they merely deepen the enigma, reminding us that we are still scratching the surface of a civilization that achieved extraordinary feats in a place few would dare to settle? As sunlight filters through the clouds and casts long shadows across the stone terraces, one is left with a sense of awe and lingering uncertainty. Kuelap, like Quillarumiyoc and Chan before it, challenges our assumptions about what pre-Columbian societies could achieve, inviting questions without offering definitive answers. How did the Chachapoya conceive, plan, and build such a monumental city in an environment that seems hostile to permanence? And perhaps the most compelling question of all, what else lies hidden within the walls, terraces, and tunnels of Kuelap, waiting for future generations to uncover a truth that has remained suspended in the clouds for centuries? From the cloud-enshrouded heights of Kuelap, where the warriors of the clouds once carved their city into the Andean foothills, our path winds deeper into the dense, emerald expanse of the Peruvian Amazon. Here, where rivers twist like silver threads through an endless canopy, and mist clings to every branch and vine, lies Gran Pajatén, an ancient settlement shrouded in both foliage and mystery. At first sight, it seems almost swallowed by the forest, a series of circular stone structures, partially hidden by moss and lianas, perched on terraces that cling precariously to the steep slopes. Sunlight filters through the dense canopy, casting fragmented patterns across carved stone and adobe walls, creating an impression of a city in perpetual twilight, a place that exists simultaneously in the present and in the echoes of a distant past. Gran Pajatén is often described as a lost city, though that designation risks simplifying a site of remarkable complexity. Archaeologists attribute it to the Chachapoya culture, dating roughly between the 10th and 15th centuries CE. The structures themselves are circular, with walls rising 3 to 4 meters high, crowned with adobe friezes depicting intricate geometric patterns, human figures, and stylized felines. The terraces are meticulously constructed, seemingly carved from the mountainside itself, and interconnected by a series of narrow stairways and paths that defy easy access. The site's position atop a remote ridge has contributed both to its preservation and to its enduring sense of secrecy, as the dense forest, difficult terrain, and frequent rainfall have kept it largely hidden from the outside world. Mainstream interpretations suggest that Gran Pajatén served as both a ceremonial center and a residential hub, a place where the Chachapoya could consolidate power, conduct ritual observances, and defend themselves against rival groups. The circular form of the buildings may have had symbolic significance, perhaps representing cosmological beliefs, social hierarchies, or communal unity. Excavations have revealed traces of finely crafted pottery, textiles, and evidence of ritual activity, indicating a society that combined practical ingenuity with sophisticated cultural expression. Yet, the more one examines Gran Pajatén, the more questions emerge. How did a civilization, isolated in such rugged terrain, construct terraces and buildings that have withstood centuries of tropical storms, seismic activity, and dense vegetation? The precision of the stonework, the scale of the terraces, and the integration with the natural contours of the mountainside suggest a level of architectural planning and engineering that continues to impress modern researchers. Some stones, especially those forming foundations and retaining walls, are unusually large and perfectly fitted, reminiscent of techniques seen in highland megalithic sites but adapted for a humid, forested environment. Then there is the question of access. Gran Pajatén is deliberately difficult to reach, its stairways steep, narrow, and winding. Was this purely defensive, or was there a more symbolic intention? An elevation of the sacred, a journey from the mundane to the divine? Observers have noted alignments within the structures that may correspond to solar events, echoing patterns found in other Chachapoya sites. Could these alignments suggest an astronomical purpose or perhaps a calendrical function intertwined with ceremonial practice? Or do they simply reflect the intuitive placement of structures in harmony with the terrain? Speculative theories extend beyond conventional archaeology. Some researchers propose that Gran Pajatén represents the continuation of a pre-existing architectural knowledge, possibly inherited from an earlier unknown culture. The sophistication of the terraces and circular constructions hints at techniques that may have been lost or deliberately concealed. Others note the recurring imagery in the friezes: human figures with pronounced eyes, animals in stylized motion, and geometric patterns that some interpret as a symbolic language, perhaps encoding cultural knowledge, ritual practice, or cosmological concepts. Could these carvings reflect information that the Chachapoya themselves did not fully reveal to outsiders, leaving us only fragments of understanding? The forest itself seems to participate in the mystery. Mist rolls through the terraces in unpredictable currents, sometimes revealing sections of walls in sharp clarity, only to obscure them moments later. The constant presence of humidity, the sound of unseen wildlife, and the play of light and shadow create an atmosphere of impermanence, as though the city resists being fully captured, both physically and intellectually. Modern technology, including aerial surveys and ground-penetrating radar, has begun to uncover hidden chambers and terraces, suggesting that the visible structures may represent only a portion of the settlement. Could there be subterranean complexes yet undiscovered, or extensions of the city hidden under dense vegetation, waiting to reveal further insights into the Chachapoya way of life? Walking through Gran Pajatén, one is struck not only by the ingenuity of its builders, but also by a profound sense of stillness, a reminder that the forest has reclaimed what was once humanly asserted. The terraces, walls, and friezes speak of a culture that mastered its environment, achieved architectural feats in isolation, and left behind evidence of social, spiritual, and possibly astronomical knowledge. And yet, despite careful study, so much remains unknown. How did the Chachapoya orchestrate the construction of such a site in a landscape that challenges every step? What knowledge guided the placement of terraces, the carving of friezes, and the selection of sites for ceremonial activity? As sunlight filters through the mist, illuminating patches of stone and moss, Gran Pajatén reminds us that mystery endures, not as a failure of scholarship, but as a testament to human creativity, ambition, and the passage of time. Like Kuelap, Chanchan, and Quillarumiyoc, it invites contemplation, prompting a single, lingering question. What lies hidden, still protected by forest and fog, in a city that defies both nature and our conventional understanding of pre-Columbian architecture? Leaving the cloud-laden slopes of Gran Pajatén, where mist conceals terraces and circular stone structures like a city half forgotten by time, our journey threads further into the rugged highlands of northern Peru. Here, amid soaring peaks and deep river valleys, lie the Olleros Ruins, a complex of stone edifices perched precariously along steep ridges, their presence at once commanding and enigmatic. From a distance, the site appears as jagged silhouettes etched against the sky, a series of walls and terraces clinging stubbornly to the mountainside. Up close, the details reveal themselves. Irregular yet deliberate masonry, stone stairways winding sharply upward, and platforms whose alignment with the ridge suggests careful planning, though the purpose of that design remains uncertain. The high-altitude air carries a crispness that sharpens both the mind and the imagination, and the silence is occasionally broken only by the rush of distant streams cutting through the valleys below. Mainstream archaeology situates Olleros within the broader context of Andean civilizations, associating it with pre-Inca cultures that occupied the northern highlands between roughly 900 and 1400 CE. The terraces are commonly interpreted as agricultural in nature, a means of coaxing productivity from the steep, unforgiving slopes. Yet the scale, precision, and orientation of the stonework hint at purposes that extend beyond mere subsistence. Many stones are precisely fitted, their edges interlocking in ways that resist even the smallest wedge, a technique reminiscent of constructions found at more famous highland sites, though executed here in relative isolation. Scholars note that some stairways and terraces appear to align with the path of the sun across the horizon, suggesting an observational or ceremonial component to the site's placement. Despite these rational explanations, the Olleros ruins present anomalies that have long intrigued researchers. Certain platforms and walls seem to serve no clear agricultural or defensive function. Some stones bear enigmatic markings, lines and shapes etched into surfaces that cannot be fully explained by routine toolwork. Could these markings have held symbolic or ritual significance, a coded language of the culture that once inhabited these heights? And if so, what knowledge or cosmological understanding might they encode, now lost to time and memory? The very act of constructing such an extensive settlement on steep, uneven terrain raises further questions about the engineering methods employed. How did these ancient builders move massive stones across ridges and slopes that, even today, challenge seasoned hikers? The positioning of the Olleros ruins also invites speculation about their relationship to the surrounding landscape. Unlike other highland sites situated on expansive plateaus or defensive hilltops, Olleros seems intimately tied to the contours of the ridges themselves. Terraces step downward with precision, stairways twist around natural outcrops, and walls are integrated into the slopes as if the mountain itself guided construction. Could this indicate an advanced understanding of topography, drainage, and structural stability that went beyond practical needs? Or was the site intentionally designed to create a sense of isolation and mystery, a deliberate shaping of space to evoke awe or reverence among those who approached it? Beyond the engineering marvels, there is also the question of human intent. Why build here, in a place that is difficult to access and vulnerable to erosion, landslides, and harsh weather? Was it a sanctuary, a ceremonial center, or a hub for a culture now largely erased from history? Some researchers suggest that the site could have been part of a network of settlements, strategically placed to oversee trade routes or ritual pathways along the highland ridges. Others, exploring less conventional theories, propose that the precise construction and unusual layouts hint at knowledge or techniques inherited from a prior, unknown culture, an ancestral source of expertise that allowed such ambitious projects in locations seemingly inhospitable to large settlements. Walking among the terraces and stairways today, the sense of scale and isolation is striking. Shadows fall across walls in sharp relief as the sun angles through the peaks, highlighting the intricacies of stonework that is both practical and artistic. The terraces descend in stepped patterns that suggest rhythm and order, yet some areas end abruptly, leaving the observer to wonder whether portions have collapsed, been reclaimed by the earth, or were intentionally left incomplete. The high-altitude winds whisper through the gaps between stones, carrying with them the faint scent of pine and wet earth, as if the mountain itself were keeping the secrets of its builders. Modern exploration has barely begun to uncover the full extent of Olleros. Satellite imagery and remote sensing hint at terraces and structures hidden by vegetation, suggesting that the visible ruins may represent only a fraction of the settlement. Could there be hidden chambers, tunnels, or platforms yet to be revealed, holding clues to the lives, beliefs, or technologies of the people who called this rugged landscape home? And if so, what truths about pre-Columbian ingenuity might lie buried, waiting for future generations to discover them. As the afternoon sun sinks behind the peaks, casting long shadows across stone terraces and stairways, Olleros leaves an indelible impression, a site where human ambition meets nature's extremes, where construction defies both gravity and expectation, and where mystery lingers in every crevice and corner. Like Gran Pajatén and Kuelap before it, Olleros challenges our understanding of what civilizations could accomplish with the tools, knowledge, and resources available to them, and as the highland winds stir the loose soil and leaves, one question remains, echoing through the ridges and terraces. What else, hidden in plain sight or concealed by the mountains, still awaits discovery in this enigmatic highland city? Descending from the high, rugged landscapes of Olleros, where terraces cling stubbornly to Andean ridges and wind whispers secrets of forgotten builders, we move westward, toward the coastal plains of central Peru. Here, the landscape changes abruptly. Arid desert meets the sprawling urban tapestry of modern Lima. Amid the city's hum, traffic, and modern structures, an ancient monument rises quietly, almost imperceptibly at first, a silent sentinel in the midst of the contemporary world. This is Huaca Pucllana, a vast adobe pyramid that has endured centuries of wind, sun, and urban encroachment, standing as a testament to human ingenuity and the persistence of memory in the landscape. Its stepped terraces, constructed from precisely arranged adobe bricks, rise in a pyramidal form, their ochre surfaces catching the sunlight, revealing patterns and alignments that hint at a complexity beyond mere construction. Huaca Pucllana is attributed to the Lima culture, which thrived along the central coast of Peru between roughly 200 and 700 CE. Archaeological studies suggest the site served multiple functions: administrative, ceremonial, and possibly residential. The pyramid itself dominates the complex, its core surrounded by smaller structures, plazas, and open spaces, forming a city within the city. The adobe bricks, sun-dried and shaped with remarkable uniformity, are arranged in alternating bands, a technique that strengthens structural integrity and suggests sophisticated engineering knowledge for an era without advanced tools or metals. Some terraces appear to have served as platforms for ritual activities, while others may have functioned for governance or trade, though the exact nature of social organization at the site remains a matter of scholarly debate. Yet, despite these conventional interpretations, Huaca Pucllana presents a series of puzzles that continue to elude simple explanation. The sheer scale and precision of the pyramid, rising to nearly 20 meters in height, is remarkable for a society that lacked wheeled transport or draft animals. How were the massive quantities of adobe transported, shaped, and arranged with such precision? The terraces themselves are oriented in a way that seems to consider solar angles, suggesting an awareness of celestial cycles. Could the builders have designed the pyramid to track solstices or other astronomical events, weaving their cosmology into the very structure of the earth beneath them? Within the complex, excavations have uncovered ceremonial offerings, ceramics, textiles, and the remains of ritual sacrifices, including human burials. Some of these graves were intricately arranged, accompanied by grave goods that suggest social stratification and specialized religious roles. The ceremonial areas, often elevated above surrounding plazas, imply that the Lima people engaged in practices designed to elevate the spiritual above the mundane, creating sacred spaces within the urban context of their city. Yet the arrangement of these spaces, the alignment of walls and terraces, and the occasional appearance of odd, irregular bricks raise further questions. Were these deviations intentional, perhaps encoding symbolic meaning, or do they hint at a lost technique, a method of construction whose purpose is now obscured by time? Speculative interpretations have long swirled around Huaca Pucllana. Some scholars note that the alternating bands of adobe might serve a structural function, absorbing seismic shocks, a technique remarkably prescient in a region prone to earthquakes. Others, observing the careful orientation and design of the pyramid, suggest a more mystical purpose, one tied to cosmology and celestial observation. Could the layout of the terraces, platforms, and ceremonial spaces correspond to lunar or solar cycles, guiding ritual practice in ways that remain invisible to the modern eye? Some fringe theories propose that the complexity of construction implies knowledge passed down from an earlier, unknown civilization, or even techniques lost to history, preserved only in the memory of adobe and sand. Walking through Huaca Pucllana today, the contrast between past and present is striking. The pyramid rises from the desert soil, while the modern city stretches outward, roads and buildings cutting through what was once a sacred landscape. The sound of distant traffic blends with the whisper of wind across terraces, and shadows cast by the stepped adobe walls shift as the sun moves across the sky. It is possible to imagine a different era, priests and rulers navigating the terraces, carrying out rituals, guiding offerings to the gods, and orchestrating the life of a civilization that has left behind only stones, impressions in the sand, and traces of human devotion. Further intrigue emerges from the structural anomalies observed by archaeologists. Certain walls deviate slightly from linearity, and some adobe bricks are unusually large or shaped irregularly, suggesting that standard techniques may have been adapted or that advanced knowledge of load-bearing architecture was employed. Could these anomalies reflect experimentation, a deliberate encoding of meaning, or simply the challenges of constructing in a seismic zone? Additionally, the proximity of Huaca Pucllana to rivers, trade routes, and other coastal settlements raises questions about its role within a larger network of power and influence. Was it an isolated ceremonial hub, or a central node in a sprawling cultural and economic system that stretched along the coast? Modern explorations have also revealed the extent of the site's subterranean complexity. Excavations have uncovered hidden chambers, some containing burial offerings, others appearing as service spaces or storage areas. Could there be additional rooms, still undisturbed, holding artifacts, inscriptions, or architectural secrets that would shed new light on the Lima culture? The desert sands and centuries of human activity have concealed portions of the pyramid, leaving mysteries buried beneath the adobe, waiting for careful study to reveal them. As the afternoon sun casts long shadows across the stepped terraces, Huaca Pucllana stands as both monument and question, a structure that embodies the ingenuity, ambition, and mystery of a people whose presence continues to resonate in the city that has grown around it. It reminds us that even in a civilization without the advanced technology of later eras, monumental achievements were possible, blending practical engineering with cultural and spiritual expression. And as the wind stirs dust across the plazas, one is left with an enduring question: what other knowledge, practices, or architectural secrets remain hidden within Huaca Pucllana, preserved in adobe and shadow, waiting to be discovered by those who dare to look beyond the surface? From the sun-baked adobe terraces of Huaca Pucllana, where ancient priests and rulers once navigated the pyramid's steep platforms, our journey moves far southward toward the high plains that rim the vast waters of Lake Titicaca. Here, the landscape shifts again. Sprawling altiplano, windswept and cold, stretches to the horizon, punctuated by gentle rises, rocky outcrops, and the reflective surface of the lake itself, shimmering under the Andean sun. Amid these vast plains, standing silently against the sky, are the Puno burial towers, or Chullpas, cylindrical stone monuments that rise 1 or 2 stories above the earth, their smooth, sometimes intricately carved surfaces weathered by centuries of relentless wind and high-altitude sun. From a distance, they resemble sentinels guarding the plains, solitary and stoic, yet their presence hints at a society deeply concerned with memory, ancestry, and the afterlife. Chullpas are attributed to the pre-Inca Aymara and Lupaca cultures, flourishing in this region from roughly 1000 to 1450 CE. These burial towers served as tombs for noble lineages, constructed to honor and protect the dead. The towers vary in height and diameter, some circular, others rectangular, often featuring a single entrance, strategically oriented to the east. Archaeologists have noted that the orientation may correspond with celestial events, such as the rising sun at solstices, suggesting a profound connection between life, death, and the cosmos. The construction of Chullpas required meticulous planning. Massive stone blocks, some weighing several tons, were quarried, transported, and stacked with remarkable precision. The mortarless technique employed ensured stability, even in a region prone to earthquakes, reflecting both practical ingenuity and deep understanding of materials. Yet, for all their apparent purpose, the Chullpas retain a sense of mystery that captivates both scholars and travelers alike. How could societies, operating without advanced lifting machinery or large teams of organized laborers as we understand them today, raise these massive towers in remote, high-altitude locations? What knowledge of engineering or construction guided the builders, allowing them to balance immense stones with such precision that some structures remain remarkably intact, despite centuries of wind, rain, and seismic activity? Even more puzzling is the variety of shapes and decorative motifs. Some towers adorned with carved faces, geometric designs, or symbolic elements that suggest beliefs or rituals now obscured by time. What stories were these towers meant to tell, and why do so many details remain undeciphered? The function of the Chullpas extends beyond their role as tombs. Anthropological studies suggest that they were markers of lineage and territorial claims, signifying the presence and power of elite families across the Altiplano. Yet the towers are often situated in locations that seem deliberately isolated, atop hills, along ridgelines, or overlooking valleys. Could this positioning reflect not only territorial authority, but also spiritual intent, a desire to place the dead closer to the heavens, aligning them with cosmic cycles? The Aymara and Lupaca clearly viewed death not as an end, but as a continuation of influence and presence, an idea encoded into the very stones of the Chullpas. Speculative interpretations have long circulated regarding the tower's construction and purpose. Some suggest that the circular form, common among many Chullpas, may have symbolic significance, representing eternity, cyclical time, or the continuity of ancestral power. Others point to the precision of the stone masonry, noting that certain blocks interlock in ways that seem almost impossible without advanced knowledge, hinting at skills or techniques that may have been lost to history. Could the towers have served additional functions beyond burial, perhaps as astronomical markers, ceremonial centers, or beacons visible across the plains? Some fringe theories even propose that their design incorporates hidden knowledge of geometry, astronomy, or energy flow, preserved in a form we have yet to comprehend fully. Visiting the Chullpas today, the impression is both humbling and disorienting. The Altiplano wind sweeps across the plains, carrying with it the faint scent of lake water and highland grasses. The towers, rising above the earth, are silent, yet they seem to hum with memory, each stone bearing witness to generations long gone. Shadows stretch across their weathered surfaces as the sun moves across the sky, emphasizing the precision of construction, the careful orientation of entrances, and the subtle irregularities that spark speculation about their builders' methods and intentions. Walking among them, one senses a connection across centuries, a dialogue between the living and the dead, the human and the cosmic. Archaeological exploration continues to uncover hidden facets of the Chullpas. Some towers contain internal chambers filled with skeletal remains, textiles, ceramics, and ceremonial objects, yet many remain unexplored, their contents unknown. Could there be undiscovered carvings, inscriptions, or artifacts within these stones that might illuminate the spiritual, social, or technological practices of their builders? Satellite imagery and modern scanning techniques suggest that clusters of towers may extend further across the Altiplano than previously documented, hinting at a vast network of sites yet to be fully studied. Each discovery raises more questions than it answers, emphasizing the scale of knowledge still concealed within these ancient stones. As the sun dips behind the distant peaks, casting long shadows across the Altiplano, the Puno burial towers stand as both markers of mortality and monuments to human ambition. Like Huaca Pucllana, Olleros, and Kuelap, they challenge modern understanding of what prehistoric societies could achieve with limited tools yet profound ingenuity. They remind us that architecture can be both functional and symbolic, practical and spiritual, enduring even in the harshest landscapes. And as the wind sweeps across the plains, stirring dust and whispers of the past, one is left with an enduring question. What secrets, knowledge, or lost practices still lie hidden within the Chullpas, waiting to be revealed to those who dare to look beyond the stones and into the mysteries they preserve? From the windswept plains of Puno, where the Chullpas rise as silent guardians of the ancestors, our journey turns westward, descending toward the arid coastal valleys of central Peru. Here, where the desert meets the Pacific, sits Pachacamac, an archaeological complex that once pulsated with religious, political, and cultural significance. Spread across a series of hills and terraces, the site commands a strategic view of the surrounding valleys, the ocean beyond, and the vast plains that stretch uninterrupted under the relentless sun. At first glance, Pachacamac appears as a succession of adobe pyramids, walled compounds, and ceremonial enclosures, their surfaces weathered to warm, earthy hues. Yet the closer one approaches, the more the complexity of the site becomes apparent. Narrow passageways leading to hidden chambers, plazas aligned with meticulous intent, and structures whose scale suggests both ambition and reverence. Mainstream scholarship attributes Pachacamac to successive pre-Columbian cultures, with its earliest construction dating as far back as 200 CE, later expanded and modified by the Ichma culture, and finally incorporated into the Inca Empire around the 15th century. It served as a major pilgrimage center, attracting worshippers from across the coast and highlands who came to honor the deity Pachacamac, Earthmaker, and to participate in rituals that intertwined religion, politics, and social hierarchy. The complex is composed of numerous platforms, pyramids, and temples, including the prominent Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Moon, linked by broad plazas and ceremonial ramps. The adobe walls, built with remarkable precision, are interspersed with niches, recesses, and stairways whose purpose is still debated, suggesting not only architectural sophistication, but also symbolic intent. Yet, despite centuries of study, Pachacamac continues to resist simple explanation. How did its builders, without the benefit of wheeled transport or metal tools, construct monumental terraces, transport massive adobe blocks, and maintain alignment across multiple hills? Some of the pyramid's foundations seem extraordinarily well leveled for a site of such scale, raising questions about the surveying techniques employed. Was this purely practical, or did the architects incorporate an understanding of geometry, astronomy, or even sacred proportion? Scholars have noted the orientation of certain structures to solar events, hinting at observational and calendrical purposes. Could these alignments reflect a sophisticated comprehension of celestial cycles, encoded into the very fabric of the city for ritual or symbolic significance? The placement of Pachacamac is itself a subject of intrigue. The site sits near the mouth of the Lurin Valley, overlooking both fertile plains and the Pacific horizon. Some theorists argue that this location was chosen not merely for practical reasons, such as access to trade routes and agricultural lands, but for its spiritual resonance, a liminal space where the land, the sea, and the sky intersect. Pilgrims arriving at Pachacamac would have ascended terraces, passed through ceremonial plazas, and approached temples in a choreographed journey, each movement laden with symbolic meaning. But what knowledge guided this choreography, and how much of it is now lost to history? Speculative theories extend even further. Some researchers propose that Pachacamac may contain hidden chambers or underground passages yet to be fully explored, designed for ritual seclusion or preservation of sacred artifacts. Others have suggested that the precision of construction, particularly the massive adobe walls, the placement of stairways, and the integration of terraces with natural contours, points to techniques that seem almost advanced for their time. Could this represent knowledge inherited from earlier, now vanished civilizations, or an understanding of engineering and astronomy that surpasses current assumptions about pre-Inca cultures? The friezes and decorative motifs, though partially eroded, hint at symbolic languages and iconography whose full meaning remains tantalizingly out of reach. Walking through Pachacamac today, one senses both grandeur and subtlety. The sprawling plazas, framed by high adobe walls, echo with the faintest sound of the wind, carrying the distant scent of the desert and the salty tang of the ocean. The terraces rise and fall rhythmically, guiding the eye and body along carefully constructed pathways, while stairways and narrow passageways suggest intentional restriction of access, spaces meant to be approached only by those with knowledge or ritual authority. The shadows cast by the late afternoon sun accentuate the subtle curves, angles, and reliefs of the walls, revealing both artistry and deliberate design. Each corner, platform, and recess seems to hold a secret, as if the builders had embedded knowledge into stone and earth for the generations that followed. Modern archaeological techniques have begun to uncover more of Pachacamac's hidden complexity. Ground-penetrating radar, aerial mapping, and careful excavation have revealed subsurface structures, long-buried walls, and potential ritual spaces that had been concealed beneath centuries of sand and urban expansion. Yet every discovery seems to raise new questions. What stories, artifacts, or architectural innovations remain undiscovered? Could further exploration reveal previously unknown aspects of the Ichma or Inca influence, or even hints of an earlier culture predating what we currently recognize as the site's origins? As the sun sinks behind distant ridges, casting long shadows over plazas and pyramids, Pachacamac endures as a place where practical engineering, religious devotion, and symbolic expression converge. Like the Chullpas of Puno, Huaca Pucllana, and Olleros before it, this complex challenges assumptions about what prehistoric civilizations could achieve, blending monumentality with subtlety, functionality with ritual, and permanence with impermanence. The adobe walls, terraces, and temples stand as both testimony and enigma, inviting reflection on the ambitions, beliefs, and knowledge of those who built them. And as the coastal winds stir dust across the plazas and terraces, one cannot help but ask, what other secrets remain hidden within Pachacamac, waiting to reveal the full depth of a civilization whose memory has persisted for centuries, yet whose mysteries continue to elude our understanding? From the sprawling ceremonial terraces and sun-baked pyramids of Pachacamac, where pilgrims once traversed plazas in devotion to Pachacamac, our journey turns inland, climbing into the rugged hills near Cusco. Here, amid jagged ridges and fertile valleys, lies Sayhuite, an archaeological site unlike any other in the Andean world. At first sight, Sayhuite appears modest, a cluster of stone structures and low terraces set against the steep hillsides. But closer observation reveals an extraordinary feature that dominates the site: a vast stone complex etched with an intricate network of channels, pools, and basins. The surface, carved directly into the bedrock, forms a labyrinth of miniature rivers, lakes, and terraces, each connected with precise channels that guide the flow of water. Sunlight striking the stone highlights the depth and complexity of the carvings, revealing a network so detailed and ordered that it evokes both awe and profound curiosity. Sayhuite is generally attributed to the late pre-Inca period, associated with the Huari and later Inca influence, and is often described as a hydraulic or ritual site. Archaeologists have long debated its function. Some argue that it served as a hydraulic laboratory or irrigation model designed to teach water management techniques in the mountainous terrain. Others suggest it was primarily ceremonial, representing a symbolic landscape of rivers, lakes, and terraces, a microcosm of the Andean world, reflecting the sacred relationship between humans, water, and the gods. The precision of the channels, the symmetry of pools, and the careful distribution of basins all point to a deep understanding of hydraulics and engineering, remarkable for a culture that relied on stone and manual labor alone. Yet for all its apparent utility, Sayhuite remains enigmatic. How was such a vast and detailed hydraulic network conceived and executed without modern tools or standardized measurements? The channels vary in width and depth, some cut so finely that water would flow with measured velocity, while other basins suggest storage or ceremonial use. Could this be evidence of experimentation, of early engineering applied in the field to test the movement and control of water? Or does the complexity hint at symbolic cosmological intent, encoding ideas about fertility, abundance, and the flow of life itself? Some researchers propose that the site could have served both functions simultaneously: practical demonstration intertwined with ritual, engineering merged with belief, science fused with spirituality. The location of Sayhuite is equally intriguing. Situated on a gentle hillside with commanding views of the surrounding valleys, the site takes advantage of natural contours to channel rainfall and runoff into its network of carved basins. Some scholars argue that this positioning reflects an awareness of seasonal water patterns, suggesting sophisticated observation and planning. Others point to the alignment of certain channels with distant peaks and horizons, raising the possibility that the site functioned as a symbolic representation of the Andean landscape, connecting earth, water, and sky in a way that reinforced cultural and spiritual narratives. Could the carvings have been designed as a teaching tool, a sacred map, or even a celestial analog, linking the flow of water to the cycles of the sun and moon? Speculative interpretations extend even further. Some observers note that the irregularity and complexity of the channels, pools, and basins seem almost excessive if their sole purpose were irrigation or demonstration. Could Sayhuite have been a ceremonial site where water was offered as a gift to the gods, or where initiates learned sacred knowledge through interaction with the flowing water? Others suggest that the scale and precision imply techniques or knowledge inherited from earlier, possibly unknown cultures, whose understanding of hydraulics and symbolic representation surpassed what is conventionally attributed to pre-Inca societies. Some fringe theories even propose that the site functioned as a model for larger, now lost waterworks, or that it encoded mathematical or cosmological knowledge in ways we have yet to decipher. Walking across Sayhuite today, the sense of mystery is palpable. The carved channels twist and descend across the bedrock, leading the eye along pathways that seem designed to guide movement and perception. Small basins collect rainwater, some still holding shallow pools, reflecting sunlight and clouds in a way that makes the carvings appear alive. The surrounding hills echo faintly with the sound of wind and occasional bird calls, a reminder of both isolation and preservation. Standing among the channels, one senses an intimate connection between human intention and natural forces. The site is both a product of labor and a dialogue with the landscape itself, a space where stone, water, and gravity converge. Modern exploration continues to reveal layers of complexity. Researchers using 3D mapping, hydraulic modeling, and aerial imagery have begun to uncover subtleties previously unnoticed. Minute gradients that guide water precisely, small subsidiary channels that may have served ritual or observational purposes, and patterns that suggest deliberate symbolic representation beyond mere utility. Could there be additional carvings hidden beneath centuries of soil and vegetation, waiting to reveal new insights into the site's purpose and meaning? And if so, what knowledge, technical, spiritual, or both, might emerge from these hidden layers? As the afternoon sun filters through drifting clouds, casting shadows across the channels and basins, Sayhuite emerges as a monument not only to human ingenuity, but also to mystery itself. Like Pachacamac, Huaca Pucllana, and Olleros before it, the site challenges assumptions about what pre-Columbian societies could achieve, blending functionality with symbolism, practicality with ritual, and observation with devotion. And as water continues to carve its own path across the stone, one is left with a profound question. What remains hidden in Sayhuite, encoded in stone and channel, waiting for future generations to discover a deeper understanding of its purpose, its builders, and the knowledge they left behind? From the intricate channels and carved terraces of Sayhuite, where water and stone converge in silent complexity, our journey moves southward into the highlands of northern Ecuador. Here, at an elevation of over 3,100 meters, sits Ingapirca, the largest known Inca complex in Ecuador, a site that stands as both monument and enigma, its stones rising from the mist-shrouded valley floor with a quiet authority. From a distance, Ingapirca appears as a collection of terraces, walls, and circular towers, carefully integrated into the natural contours of the hill. Approaching the site, the details emerge: walls of perfectly cut stone, angles so precise that no mortar is required, and the iconic Temple of the Sun, a semicircular structure perched atop the ridge, oriented in a way that captures both sunrise and sunset with deliberate intent. The interplay of light, shadow, and mist imbues the site with a sense of timelessness, as if the hills themselves guard secrets left by hands long gone. Ingapirca is widely recognized as a fusion of cultures. Originally constructed by the Qenari people, who inhabited the region prior to Inca conquest, the site was later expanded and integrated into the Inca Empire during the 15th century. Mainstream archaeology identifies Ingapirca as both ceremonial and administrative, a place where the Incas exerted political control, conducted ritual observances, and managed trade and agriculture across the surrounding valleys. The Temple of the Sun, built from massive stones fitted with remarkable precision, likely served as a ceremonial center for astronomical observation, religious rites, and the veneration of Inti, the sun god. The terraces surrounding the site, cut into the hillside, were not only practical for cultivation but also demonstrate an advanced understanding of engineering, erosion control, and water management. Yet, for all its practical and ceremonial purposes, Ingapirca exudes a profound sense of mystery. How did the Qenari and Inca builders, without modern machinery, lift and position massive stones with such precision in a location so remote and elevated? The Temple of the Sun, a semicircular construction that follows the natural curve of the ridge, is aligned almost perfectly with the solstices, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. But what knowledge guided the planning of terraces, stairways, and retaining walls across a complex terrain? Was this alignment purely ceremonial, a tribute to the sun, or did it serve a deeper purpose, perhaps functioning as a calendar, a ritual map, or a symbolic representation of the cosmos? The layout of Ingapirca raises further questions. The site is more than the sum of its terraces, walls, and temples. It is a carefully orchestrated landscape where natural rock outcrops, steep slopes, and valley vistas are incorporated into the architecture itself. Could the placement of structures and pathways have been intended to channel energy, direct attention, or guide the movement of people in a ritualized journey? Observers have noted that some walls and corners are slightly irregular, as if shaped to accommodate the natural bedrock, yet simultaneously demonstrating a level of precision that defies casual explanation. Are these irregularities practical compromises, or do they hint at a symbolic or cosmological code embedded within the stones? Speculative theories abound regarding the true purpose and origin of Ingapirca. Some suggest that the semicircular Temple of the Sun represents not only a ceremonial focus, but also an astronomical observatory, its walls capturing the trajectory of the sun and possibly other celestial bodies. Others propose that the terraces and stone channels hint at hydraulic knowledge lost to time, capable of distributing water with precision across uneven terrain. There are even suggestions that certain stone arrangements encode sacred geometry, reflecting a broader understanding of cosmology, ritual, and the integration of humans with the natural environment. Could Ingapirca represent a convergence of practical engineering, sacred ritual, and ancestral knowledge passed down through generations of Cañari and Inca builders, preserving wisdom now partially lost to history? Walking through the site today, the atmosphere is both tranquil and reverent. The highland wind whispers through terraces and corridors, carrying the scent of wet earth and grass, while the valley below stretches out like a living map, linking the human constructions to the wider landscape. The stones themselves, weathered but enduring, convey a sense of permanence and intent, as if the builders understood the interplay of human life, natural forces, and cosmic cycles. Each step on the terraces, each glance at the Temple of the Sun, evokes questions about the labor, planning, and belief systems that shaped this monumental site. Modern investigation continues to uncover Ingapirca's hidden complexities. Archaeologists using aerial mapping, 3D modeling, and careful excavation have identified subterranean structures, water channels, and terraces that had remained obscured for centuries. Yet every discovery seems to raise more questions. Are there hidden chambers or ceremonial spaces still untouched by modern study? Could additional alignments or carvings reveal insights into the astronomical, religious, or engineering knowledge of its builders? And perhaps most tantalizingly, what truths about the interplay between Cañari ingenuity and Inca adaptation remain concealed within the stone? As the sun dips behind distant peaks, casting elongated shadows across terraces and temples, Ingapirca stands as a monument both human and eternal, a place where natural landscape, architectural mastery, and celestial alignment converge. Like Sayhuite, Pachacamac, and Huaca Pucllana before it, the site challenges our understanding of what pre-Columbian civilizations could achieve, blending precision with symbolism, practicality with ritual, and permanence with mystery. And as the wind stirs across the highland plains, one is left with a lingering question. What else lies hidden within Ingapirca's terraces, stones, and sacred spaces, waiting to reveal knowledge, purpose, or secrets that have survived centuries, yet remain beyond our full comprehension? From the high-altitude terraces and celestial alignments of Ingapirca, where Cañari and Inca ingenuity intertwined across misty ridges, our journey returns to the sacred valleys surrounding Cusco, the heartland of the Inca Empire. Here, perched on a rocky promontory overlooking the winding Huatanay River, lies Qenko, a site of jagged stone outcrops, carved rock formations, and subterranean chambers whose purpose has puzzled scholars for centuries. At first glance, Qenko seems almost chaotic. Massive boulders scattered across a steep slope, natural fissures running through stone, and narrow pathways cut into the rock. But as the eye adjusts, patterns emerge. Deliberate carvings, labyrinthine channels, and ceremonial spaces intricately shaped from the bedrock itself. Sunlight fractures through crevices and casts long shadows, illuminating the rough-hewn surfaces and giving the impression of a site alive with both history and mystery. Qenko, sometimes referred to as the Labyrinth of Cusco, is commonly dated to the late Inca period, though some evidence suggests earlier ceremonial activity predating Inca control. Archaeologists propose that it served primarily as a ritual site, a place where priests performed sacrifices, initiations, and offerings to the gods. The centerpiece is a large carved amphitheater with channels etched into the rock, thought to have directed water, blood, or other ritual substances during ceremonies. Adjacent to this are subterranean chambers, small niches and carved rock faces, some forming narrow passageways that twist and descend unpredictably. The precision of these carvings, combined with their integration into natural formations, speaks to a culture capable of both technical mastery and profound symbolic expression. Yet, despite decades of study, Qenko remains enigmatic. The site's name itself, meaning labyrinth or zigzag in Quechua, suggests complexity and purpose, yet its exact function eludes definitive explanation. Were the channels designed to guide the flow of liquids during sacrifices, or do they encode symbolic patterns reflecting cosmology, spiritual journeys, or the cycles of life and death? Some researchers suggest that the site functioned as a microcosm of the universe, where natural formations were reshaped to mirror celestial, terrestrial, and spiritual order. Could the orientation of chambers, passageways, and carved channels have been aligned with solstices, equinoxes, or other astronomical phenomena, as seen at other Inca sites such as Ingapirca or Sacsayhuaman? The labyrinthine design raises further questions. Visitors navigating the site today experience a sense of deliberate disorientation. Narrow corridors open into wider chambers, channels curve unpredictably, and certain passages descend into semi-subterranean spaces where light is scarce. Was this intended as a symbolic journey, guiding initiates through darkness and complexity toward illumination and ritual understanding? Or was it purely functional, a way to manage ceremonial practices with both secrecy and precision? Some fringe theories suggest that Qenko may have held hidden knowledge of hydraulics or energy flow encoded in the stone channels and underground cavities, knowledge that allowed the Inca to manipulate natural forces in ways that remain mysterious to modern engineers. Qenko's relationship with the surrounding landscape is equally striking. The site overlooks Cusco, the capital of the Inca Empire, and its elevated position provides commanding views of valleys, rivers, and distant peaks. Could the placement of Qenko have been intended to integrate the natural environment into the ritual experience, aligning human activity with the movements of the sun, water, and wind? The amphitheater and carved channels suggest a deliberate interplay of gravity, fluid, and sound, hinting at rituals that engaged multiple senses and connected participants to both the terrestrial and celestial realms. Was this a sacred theater, a spiritual laboratory, or a combination of both, designed to amplify the effects of ceremony and observation? Walking through Qenko today, the sense of mystery is palpable. The rough rock underfoot, the echoing corridors, and the sudden drops into subterranean chambers create a landscape that feels both human and natural, shaped yet wild. The amphitheater channels catch sunlight at certain times of day, highlighting grooves and patterns that seem almost intentional, like a message encoded in stone. The surrounding cliffs and ridges seem to watch over the site, as if the mountain itself is part of the ritual framework, a silent participant in centuries-old ceremonies. Modern explorers cannot help but feel the weight of human history, intertwined with the raw force of nature, a reminder that the Inca viewed architecture, landscape, and ritual as inseparable. Despite careful excavation and study, Qenko continues to reveal only fragments of its secrets. Some chambers remain partially unexplored, their walls and niches holding potential clues to ritual practice, astronomical observation, or symbolic meaning. Could undiscovered carvings or hidden channels further illuminate the Inca understanding of the cosmos, the spiritual significance of water and stone, or the integration of natural and built environments? The irregularity of the site, its zigzagging passageways, its subterranean chambers, and its carved channels, suggests knowledge and intent that has been partially lost, preserved only in the stones themselves. As the sun sets behind the surrounding peaks, casting long, fractured shadows across amphitheaters and passageways, Qenko emerges as a monument to both human ingenuity and the enduring mystery of the Inca. Like Ingapirca and Sayhuite before it, the site challenges modern assumptions about prehistoric capabilities, blending architectural precision with ritual symbolism and functional engineering with spiritual expression. Standing amidst the carved channels, amphitheaters, and subterranean chambers, one is left with an enduring question. What knowledge, practices, or cosmic understanding remains encoded in Qenko's stones, still hidden from view, waiting for those willing to navigate its labyrinth of stone and shadow? From the labyrinthine channels and carved chambers of Qenko, where the Inca fused ritual, stone, and landscape into a seamless whole, our journey descends once more toward the coastal plains of central Peru. Here, just outside the modern sprawl of Lima, lies Cajamarquilla, a vast archaeological complex that stretches across rolling desert hills, its massive adobe walls and terraced platforms rising quietly from the ochre-colored sands. At first glance, Cajamarquilla appears unassuming, almost as if the desert itself has conspired to conceal its scale and complexity. But as one approaches, the contours of the site emerge: rectangular enclosures, long walls aligned with precision, open plazas framed by terraces, and circular platforms whose purpose remains a subject of debate. The desert wind carries a faint whisper of the past, and the silence is broken only by the crunch of sand underfoot, amplifying the impression of a city lost to time. Cajamarquilla is generally attributed to the Moronga culture, flourishing between roughly 200 and 800 CE, with evidence suggesting subsequent use and modification by later groups, including the Lima culture. Archaeological study indicates the site served multiple functions: administrative, ceremonial, and residential. Its sheer size, covering an estimated 167 hectares, marks it as one of the largest pre-Columbian settlements on the central coast of Peru. Yet much about its organization and purpose remains unclear. The adobe walls, constructed with remarkable uniformity, define compounds and plazas in a layout that hints at both order and hierarchy, suggesting that Cajamarquilla may have functioned as a regional hub for governance, trade, or ritual activity. Yet, for all its apparent functionality, Cajamarquilla retains an aura of mystery. How could societies of the time construct such extensive walls, terraces, and platforms using sun-dried adobe with precision sufficient to withstand centuries of erosion, seismic activity, and desert winds? Some structures appear almost monumental in scale, with walls rising several meters high and spanning impressive distances across the arid landscape. Could these dimensions have served a purely practical purpose? Or was there an additional symbolic or ceremonial intent, conveying power, cosmological order, or spiritual significance? Certain rectangular enclosures seem designed for observation or ritual, with lines and angles that some researchers believe align with celestial events. Could these structures have functioned as solar markers, calendars, or even spaces for sacred ceremonies whose meaning is now lost? The site's layout adds to the intrigue. Cajamarquilla is not a single, uniform city, but rather a complex of neighborhoods, ceremonial centers, and terraces integrated into the natural contours of the desert hills. The relationship between these areas remains difficult to decipher. Were they constructed according to practical needs, defense, water management, agriculture, or according to a symbolic vision encoding cosmological principles or societal hierarchy into stone and adobe? Some scholars note the presence of long, narrow corridors, possibly for ritual processions, while others speculate that the arrangement of platforms and plazas may reflect a conceptual mapping of the universe, much like other Andean sites such as Sayhuite or Pachacamac. Could the builders have been encoding both worldly and cosmic knowledge into the city's very design, leaving a blueprint for generations to interpret? Speculative interpretations extend even further. The site's monumental scale and precise adobe work have prompted suggestions that Cajamarquilla may have been a ceremonial capital, a place where elite classes demonstrated power and maintained spiritual authority over surrounding regions. Others propose that certain platforms and walls may have functioned as observatories, using light, shadow, and the landscape to track solar movements or seasonal change. Some fringe theories suggest that hidden chambers, subterranean spaces, or unexplored terraces may contain artifacts, inscriptions, or technologies that could redefine our understanding of pre-Columbian engineering and cosmology. Could Cajamarquilla have been a center for advanced knowledge, integrating governance, ritual, and astronomical observation into a single coherent design? Walking through Cajamarquilla today, the sense of scale and mystery is profound. The wind stirs the sands across plazas and terraces, and the sunlight casts long, angular shadows along walls that have endured centuries of desert exposure. The adobe surfaces, weathered but resilient, suggest both careful construction and enduring intent. Standing amid the complex, one senses a dialogue between human ambition and the harsh desert environment, a negotiation of labor, skill, and vision across generations. It is a place where the natural landscape is not merely a backdrop, but an integral participant in the city's design, guiding pathways, terraces, and ceremonial spaces with subtle but deliberate intent. Modern archaeology has begun to reveal the layers of complexity hidden within Cajamarquilla. Excavations have uncovered domestic compounds, storage areas, and ceremonial platforms. Yet much remains unexplored, buried beneath centuries of sand and erosion. Could there be subterranean chambers or preserved artifacts waiting to illuminate aspects of the Moronga or Lima cultures that we have yet to comprehend? Might hidden carvings or architectural anomalies reveal knowledge of engineering, ritual, or cosmology now lost to time? Every discovery seems to raise as many questions as it answers, highlighting the enduring puzzle of Cajamarquilla's purpose, scale, and sophistication. As the afternoon sun dips behind distant desert ridges, casting the adobe walls into warm relief and shadow, Cajamarquilla stands as both monument and enigma. Like Qenko, Sayhuite, and Pachacamac before it, the site challenges our understanding of what prehistoric civilizations could achieve, blending practicality with ritual, engineering with symbolism, and permanence with mystery. The city's terraces, plazas, and walls endure as witnesses to human ingenuity, ambition, and the passage of time. And as the desert wind sweeps across the complex, one is left with a lingering question. What other secrets, innovations, or ceremonial truths lie hidden within Cajamarquilla waiting to be discovered by those who are willing to explore its stones, shadows, and the silent desert that surrounds them. From the sun-scorched terraces and sprawling adobe walls of Cajamarquilla, where ancient builders carved an entire city into the desert, our journey winds high into the Andean highlands near Cusco. Here, nestled in a broad valley above the Urubamba River, lies Piquillacta, a site of immense scale, geometric precision, and enduring mystery. At first glance, Piquillacta appears as a grid of red-brown adobe walls, angular compounds, and terraces laid out across a steep hillside with a rigidity that immediately distinguishes it from the more organic forms of surrounding settlements. From above, the settlement forms an almost perfect checkerboard, a striking contrast to the rugged terrain around it. The wind whistles through narrow corridors, brushing against sun-baked walls, and the faint scent of highland grasses carries across the terraces, invoking a sense of isolation, history, and quiet anticipation. Piquillacta is widely identified as a major Wari site, constructed between roughly 600 and 1100 CE, with occupation and modification continuing into the Inca period. Archaeological study suggests that it functioned as a regional administrative center, a densely populated settlement designed for both organization and control. Its grid-like layout, divided into hundreds of rectangular compounds, indicates a level of urban planning unusual for the period, reflecting an understanding of logistics, social hierarchy, and perhaps defensive strategy. Terraces carved into the hillside suggest agricultural management, while narrow alleys and passageways hint at complex communal interactions. Every aspect of the site demonstrates deliberate intent, from wall alignments to the distribution of plazas and compounds, yet much about its origin and function remains speculative. Despite these practical interpretations, Piquillacta retains an aura of profound mystery. How did the Wari manage to construct a settlement of such scale in a region of steep slopes, variable climate, and limited technology? The walls are built from uniform adobe bricks, meticulously arranged to withstand erosion and seismic activity, yet no wheeled transport, draft animals, or metal tools were available. Could this level of planning and precision suggest knowledge of engineering or surveying techniques that have since been lost? And why was the site abandoned? Excavations indicate sudden depopulation, yet no definitive cause, whether environmental stress, conflict, or disease, has been universally agreed upon. The grid-like design itself invites further questions. In an environment dominated by irregular mountains and valleys, the regularity of Piquillacta is almost unnatural, a human imposition of order on a chaotic landscape. Was this purely functional, designed to maximize space, facilitate administration, and manage agricultural terraces, or did it carry symbolic meaning as well? Some scholars speculate that the rigid geometry may reflect an ideological statement, a visual demonstration of centralized power and control, reinforcing social hierarchy through spatial design. Others propose that it could represent a sacred schema, an attempt to impose cosmic order onto the earthly plane, echoing practices observed in other Wari and Andean sites. Could Piquillacta have been a template for social and spiritual organization, where architecture itself guided behavior, belief, and governance? Speculative interpretations extend even further. Certain compounds exhibit irregularities that seem deliberate, walls slightly thicker in some places, entrances oriented in specific directions, terraces aligned with distant peaks. Some researchers propose that these anomalies may reflect astronomical observation, perhaps tracking solar or lunar cycles, or even marking seasonal events critical to agriculture and ritual practice. Others argue that Piquillacta may have been part of a larger network of Wari administrative centers, connected across the region by roads, relay stations, and water channels, representing a level of socio-political coordination unprecedented for the era. Could the site also have encoded hidden knowledge about hydraulics, urban planning, or ceremonial practice, preserved in ways that are only partially visible to modern archaeology? Walking through Piquillacta today, the scale and precision become immediately tangible. Narrow corridors lead past adobe walls worn smooth by centuries of wind. Terraces rise and fall in deliberate sequences, and plazas punctuate the settlement like breath points, spaces where communal or ceremonial activity may have occurred. The sun casts long shadows along the angular walls, revealing subtle variations in brickwork, slope, and orientation. The settlement is quiet now, yet the echoes of movement, ritual, and social life seem to linger, whispering hints of the human presence that once organized, labored, and thrived here. The checkerboard layout, which from a distance seems rigid and mechanical, takes on a new vitality up close, every wall, doorway, and passageway suggesting intention, hierarchy, and interaction. Modern archaeology continues to reveal the hidden complexity of Piquillacta. Excavations have uncovered domestic compounds, storage areas, and remnants of ceremonial spaces, yet significant portions remain unstudied. Could unexplored chambers or buried artifacts shed light on daily life, spiritual practice, or administrative control within the Wari state? Are there hidden inscriptions, symbolic layouts, or construction techniques that might redefine our understanding of urban planning and engineering in pre-Inca societies? Each discovery seems to raise further questions, highlighting the endurance of mystery within a site that, despite centuries of scholarship, continues to defy complete explanation. As the afternoon sun begins to set, casting the adobe walls into a warm, ochre glow, Piquillacta stands as a monument to human ingenuity, ambition, and enigma. Like Cajamarquilla, Qenko, and Sayhuite before it, the site challenges assumptions about what pre-Columbian civilizations could achieve, blending urban planning, engineering, and ritual into a single complex. Its precise geometry, monumental scale, and enduring silence remind us that human societies were capable of organizing labor, knowledge, and belief into structures that endure far longer than memory alone. And as the wind stirs the terraces and corridors, one is left with a lingering question. What other secrets, innovations, or lost practices lie hidden within Piquillacta, waiting to be uncovered by those willing to explore its walls, alleys, and the subtle mysteries encoded into its very design? From the checkerboard terraces and meticulously planned corridors of Piquillacta, where the Wari exerted influence and order across the Andean highlands, our journey returns to the arid coastal deserts of southern Peru. Here, along the sands of the Pisco Valley, sits Tambo Colorado, a pre-Columbian administrative and ceremonial center that, even after centuries of wind and sun, preserves its striking presence in vivid color and precise design. Unlike the stone and earth of highland settlements, Tambo Colorado's adobe walls are remarkable for their rich red and ochre pigments, which remain surprisingly vibrant, as if the sun itself honors the memory of those who once lived here. From a distance, the site appears as a cluster of rectangular compounds, long walls, and open plazas, harmoniously integrated into the flat coastal terrain. Approaching closer, the lines, angles, and vivid hues reveal a deliberate sophistication that hints at both practicality and ritual, utility and symbolism. Tambo Colorado is attributed to the Inca period, roughly the 15th century, though it incorporates elements from earlier cultures, including the Nazca, whose influence is visible in the geometric motifs and careful planning. Archaeologists believe the site functioned as a tampu, a roadside administrative and storage center along the extensive Inca road system, facilitating communication, trade, and governance across the southern coast. Yet Tambo Colorado was not purely functional. The site's construction, layout, and decoration suggest ceremonial purposes as well, with plazas, ceremonial halls, and residential quarters carefully organized to accommodate both elite administrators and ritual activity. Its adobe walls, precisely shaped and oriented, demonstrate engineering adapted to a desert environment, resistant to erosion and capable of preserving complex interior spaces over centuries. Yet, for all its apparent utility, Tambo Colorado exudes an aura of mystery. How did the Inca, working in one of Peru's most arid regions, construct such a sophisticated complex without modern tools, yet achieve structural stability and remarkable color preservation? The walls, raised in multiple layers and carefully plastered, retain pigments that are as vivid today as they likely were centuries ago. Could there have been techniques of preparation, layering, and protection that remain unknown, lost to the passage of time? Even the alignment of plazas, walls, and entrances invites speculation. Was their orientation solely functional, responding to prevailing winds and sunlight, or did it carry symbolic or astronomical significance, perhaps connecting human activity to the cycles of the sun, moon, or sacred geography of the region? The site's design raises further intrigue. Tambo Colorado's rectangular compounds are arranged with geometric precision, creating long corridors, enclosed plazas, and ceremonial halls that interact seamlessly with the natural desert floor. Some walls are adorned with niches, geometric reliefs, and traces of painted designs, echoing a language of symbols that remains only partially understood. What messages or cosmological principles might these motifs convey? Were the colors and patterns chosen solely for aesthetics, or did they encode spiritual, administrative, or ritual information? The interplay of color, shape, and orientation suggests a civilization attentive not only to construction, but to perception, meaning, and the experience of space itself. Speculative interpretations deepen the sense of mystery. Some researchers propose that Tambo Colorado may have functioned as more than an administrative tampu or ceremonial center, a hub where ritual, governance, and logistics converged, creating a space where cosmology and daily life intersected. Others point to the alignment of walls and plazas with distant landmarks, hinting at an advanced understanding of landscape and celestial orientation. Could Tambo Colorado have been designed as a way station for pilgrims, messengers, and officials, yet simultaneously serve as a symbolic microcosm of the empire, encoding political authority and sacred geometry into the adobe itself? Some fringe theories even suggest that subtle features, hidden niches, channel-like depressions, or unexplored terraces may conceal aspects of astronomical observation, water management, or ceremonial practice still unknown to modern archaeology. Walking through Tambo, Colorado today, the experience is both intimate and awe-inspiring. The desert wind sweeps across plazas and corridors, carrying the faint scent of sand and stone, while the vivid walls seem to pulse with history. Shadows cast by the afternoon sun reveal the depth of niches, the subtle relief of adobe patterns, and the deliberate angles of walls and passageways. One senses the hands and minds of builders who worked not only with material, but with intention, designing a space that harmonized function, ritual, and symbolism. The corridors, plazas, and ceremonial halls evoke movement, ceremony, and hierarchy, reminding visitors that this was not merely a collection of structures, but a living center of human endeavor, spiritual devotion, and administrative order. Modern study continues to uncover aspects of Tambo, Colorado that were previously hidden. Careful excavation, architectural analysis, and pigment testing have illuminated construction techniques, the sequence of adobe layering, and the meaning behind decorative motifs. Yet questions remain. Could there be undiscovered chambers, hidden inscriptions, or traces of ceremonial activity that might reveal the full extent of the site's purpose? Are the color choices purely decorative, or do they encode symbolic meaning connected to cosmology, authority, or sacred ritual? Each discovery seems to deepen the mystery, emphasizing how much remains beyond our grasp, even in one of the best-preserved Inca sites along the coast. As the sun sinks behind distant dunes, casting long, golden shadows across Tambo Colorado's vivid walls and terraces, the site stands as both monument and enigma. Like Piquillacta, Cajamarquilla, and Sayhuite before it, Tambo Colorado challenges assumptions about pre-Columbian capabilities, blending architectural precision with ritual symbolism, environmental adaptation with ceremonial intent. Its adobe walls endure as a testament to human ingenuity, vision, and artistry. And as the desert wind sweeps across plazas and corridors, one is left with a lingering question. What other knowledge, practices, or cosmic insights remain encoded in the vibrant walls and hidden recesses of Tambo, Colorado, waiting for those who would seek to uncover the full story of this enigmatic Andean complex? From the vivid adobe walls and ceremonial corridors of Tambo, Colorado, where the desert preserves color and precision with almost miraculous fidelity, our journey moves further south into the arid coastal plains of the Nazca region. Here, spread across a series of low desert hills, lies Cahuachi, a city of adobe mounds and ceremonial platforms, a place where the past whispers in the wind and the sands conceal stories yet untold. At first glance, Cahuachi appears deceptively simple. Clusters of earthen pyramids, rectangular enclosures, and terraces rising from the ochre sands, their forms softened by millennia of wind and erosion. Yet, as one approaches, the subtle organization of the site becomes evident. Lines of mounds and plazas, open ceremonial spaces, and pathways that hint at deliberate planning. The desert here is both vast and intimate, a canvas upon which human hands shaped ritual and society into enduring form. Cahuachi was the principal ceremonial center of the Nazca culture, flourishing between roughly 1 and 800 CE. Archaeologists suggest that it functioned primarily as a religious hub rather than a residential city. Tens of massive adobe mounds, some rising nearly 30 meters high, dominate the landscape, forming platforms for ritual activity, public gatherings, and possibly elite administration. Excavations reveal traces of offerings, pottery, textiles, foodstuffs, and even human remains, hinting at ceremonies that combined devotion, feasting, and possibly sacrifice. The scale of the site, estimated at over 2 square kilometers, suggests that it drew pilgrims and participants from a wide region, acting as a spiritual nexus for the Nazca people. Yet, for all its apparent ceremonial function, Cahuachi retains an aura of mystery that has perplexed scholars for decades. Why was the site built on this seemingly inhospitable desert plain, distant from the rich agricultural valleys of the region? The size and scale of the adobe mounds imply an extraordinary level of social organization, labor coordination, and resource management. Yet, the Nazca left little evidence of permanent habitation at the site. Could it be that Cahuachi was a purely ritual landscape, a sacred destination where people gathered seasonally, leaving the surrounding plains and valleys otherwise undisturbed? Or does its location reflect a deeper cosmological or symbolic choice, one that aligned with celestial phenomena, natural features, or sacred geography? The architecture of Cahuachi is equally enigmatic. Adobe mounds rise in rectangular and irregular forms, connected by open plazas and corridors, some of which seem to frame distant horizons or natural landmarks. Could these alignments have been deliberate, functioning as observatories for tracking solar, lunar, or stellar movements, as has been suggested for other Nazca sites? Some researchers note that certain mounds show evidence of multiple construction phases, with terraces built atop earlier structures, suggesting an evolving ceremonial complex over centuries. Could this layering indicate changes in ritual practice, political organization, or even spiritual cosmology, encoded in the very architecture of the city? Speculative interpretations abound. Some suggest that Cahuachi may have served as a ritual laboratory where offerings, sacrificial ceremonies, and communal gatherings allowed the Nazca to explore spiritual, social, and agricultural knowledge in symbolic form. Others propose that the mounds and plazas encoded cosmological information, mapping celestial events or representing sacred mountains, rivers, and other features within the spiritual imagination of the Nazca people. Some fringe theories even speculate that the placement and form of the mounds might relate to energy flow, water management, or lost technologies of construction, though such claims remain largely unverified. Yet the very act of pondering these possibilities underscores the enduring allure and mystery of Cahuachi. Walking across the site today, the desert amplifies the sense of isolation and reverence. Wind brushes against sun-warmed adobe walls, stirring fine sand that drifts across terraces and plazas. Shadows from the low-angle sun stretch across the mounds, revealing the contours, angles, and subtle carvings that speak to deliberate human design. The absence of permanent structures for habitation heightens the sense of the site as a ritual stage, a space deliberately set apart from everyday life, where ceremony, observation, and symbolic expression could unfold without distraction. Each mound, plaza, and pathway invites reflection, suggesting that the Nazca understood architecture not merely as shelter, but as a medium of spiritual and social communication. Modern archaeology has illuminated parts of Cahuachi, uncovering domestic-style artifacts, ceremonial objects, and evidence of complex adobe construction techniques. Yet much of the site remains unexplored or buried beneath centuries of desert accumulation. Could there be hidden chambers, ceremonial niches, or artifacts waiting to reveal more about the nature of Nazca ritual and cosmology? Are there encoded alignments, symbolic layouts, or architectural features that might offer insight into the relationship between humans, earth, and sky at this remarkable ceremonial center? Every new excavation seems to raise as many questions as it answers, emphasizing that Cahuachi's full purpose and significance remain partially beyond our reach. As the sun sets over the desert horizon, painting the adobe mounds in deep ochre and crimson, Cahuachi emerges as a monument to both human ingenuity and enduring mystery. Like Tambo Colorado, Piquillacta, and Sayhuite before it, the site challenges modern assumptions about what pre-Columbian societies could achieve, blending architecture, ritual, and landscape into a seamless whole. The wind carries whispers of ancient ceremonies across terraces and plazas, inviting reflection on the lives, beliefs, and knowledge of those who built and used this extraordinary site. And as the evening light softens the desert's contours, one is left with a lingering question. What secrets, rituals, or lost knowledge remain hidden within Cahuachi's adobe mounds and sacred spaces, waiting to be uncovered by those willing to listen to the silent voice of the desert? From the sprawling ceremonial platforms of Cahuachi, where adobe mounds rise from the Nazca Desert in patterns of ritual and mystery, our journey ascends once more into the highlands surrounding Cusco, the sacred heart of the Inca Empire. Here, perched on a ridge that overlooks the Vilcanota River and the approaches to the imperial capital, lies Pukapukara, a fortress, a checkpoint, and perhaps something far more enigmatic than its name, Red Fortress, suggests. At first sight, Pukapukara seems modest in scale compared to the monumental terraces of Sacsayhuaman or the sprawling grids of Piquillacta. Yet a closer look reveals a complex interplay of stone walls, terraces, staircases, and water channels, carefully integrated into the natural contours of the hillside. The red-hued stones, weathered by centuries of sun and wind, catch the light in warm tones that hint at the site's original ceremonial or symbolic importance, even amid its apparent military function. Pukapukara is traditionally described as a military outpost, a defensive bulwark guarding the approaches to Cusco. Archaeologists have noted walls designed to channel movement through narrow corridors, terraces that could have provided observation points, and platforms that allow commanding views of the surrounding valleys. The site is strategically positioned to monitor travelers along the Vilcanota River and the highland roads, giving the Inca a measure of control over access to their capital. Yet, while defensive functions are evident, Pukapukara resists a purely military classification. Its water channels, fountains, and possibly ceremonial plazas suggest that the site was also a place of ritual, a space where human ingenuity, symbolism, and spiritual expression intersected with strategic concerns. The architecture of Pukapukara raises questions that linger even today. The walls, built from finely cut and precisely placed stones, create angular enclosures and pathways that guide movement in a controlled manner. Could the layout of these corridors and terraces have been designed to confuse potential invaders? Or might they have served a dual purpose, guiding ceremonial processions, ritual observances, or offerings? The presence of water channels, carefully engineered to flow through terraces and courtyards, implies knowledge of hydraulics and a symbolic appreciation for the element in ritual life. Was water used practically to irrigate crops or supply the outpost, or did it carry a sacred dimension, part of ceremonies that aligned with the sun, seasons, or local cosmology? Speculative interpretations deepen the mystery. Some scholars suggest that Pukapukara functioned as a checkpoint not only for military purposes, but also for pilgrims and travelers entering the sacred space of Cusco, integrating surveillance with ceremonial hospitality. Others propose that the terraces and walls may encode symbolic patterns, aligning with distant mountains, rivers, or celestial markers, reflecting a sophisticated understanding of geography and astronomy. Could the fortress have been a microcosm of the empire itself, a symbolic representation of order imposed upon the landscape, where architecture and topography converge to convey power, protection, and spiritual meaning simultaneously? The site's unusual design amplifies the sense of intrigue. Unlike other fortresses, Pukapukara's walls are not uniform. Some angles appear curved or stepped. Terraces overlap, and pathways twist in ways that suggest a deliberate orchestration of movement and perception. Are these features purely functional, reflecting adaptation to uneven terrain, or do they hint at a more profound purpose, perhaps guiding visitors through a sequence of observation, reflection, and ritual? Some researchers have noted that certain platforms align with sunrise and sunset during solstices, raising the possibility that astronomical observation played a role in the site's conception. Could Pukapukara, like other Andean complexes, have served as both practical infrastructure and sacred observatory, merging earthly governance with cosmic awareness? Walking through Pukapukara today, the sense of layered purpose is striking. The terraces and walls seem to guide the visitor naturally through the site, revealing courtyards, fountains, and observation points in succession. Sunlight illuminates red-hued stones, casting long shadows across stairways and enclosures, while the distant mountains frame the horizon with a quiet grandeur. The wind whispers through narrow passages, carrying the faint echo of voices and movement from centuries past. It is easy to imagine soldiers, pilgrims, priests, and travelers navigating these spaces, each experiencing the fortress in a different but deliberate way. Every wall, staircase, and channel suggests intention, inviting questions about the interplay between military strategy, spiritual practice, and social control. Modern archaeology has shed some light on Pukapukara, yet much remains to be discovered. Excavations have revealed domestic structures, water channels, and evidence of ceremonial activity, but many areas remain unstudied or obscured by centuries of erosion. Could there be hidden chambers, underground water systems, or symbolic carvings that might illuminate the full extent of the site's purpose? Are there subtle alignments or patterns embedded in the terraces, walls, or fountains that hint at knowledge lost to time? Each uncovered detail seems to deepen the sense of mystery, emphasizing that Pukapukara, like so many Andean sites, defies complete understanding. As the sun sinks behind the ridges of the Vilcanota River Valley, casting terraces and walls into rich red and golden hues, Pukapukara stands as both a fortress and a puzzle, a place where strategic oversight, human ingenuity, and spiritual symbolism converge. Like Cahuachi, Tambo Colorado, and Piquillacta. Before it, the site challenges modern assumptions about the capabilities of pre-Columbian builders, blending precision, purpose, and mystery. The red stones endure, testifying to centuries of labor, knowledge, and perhaps ritual understanding that remain partially obscured. And as the wind stirs across terraces and courtyards, one is left with a lingering question. What secrets, ceremonies, or sophisticated knowledge are still hidden within Pukapukara's walls, waiting to reveal themselves to those willing to explore the subtle intricacies of this enigmatic highland fortress? From the highland fortresses and ceremonial terraces of Pukapukara, where stone, water, and ritual intertwine in ways that still defy simple explanation, our journey descends once more toward the Pacific coast, into the arid Soup Valley. Here, nestled among low desert hills and overlooked by rugged ridges, lies Caral, the oldest known urban center in the Americas, a city that flourished over 5,000 years ago, and whose monumental presence continues to challenge our understanding of prehistoric civilization. From a distance, the city's pyramidal mounds, sunken plazas, and ceremonial platforms rise from the ochre sands, seemingly carved from the desert itself. The wind whispers across the terraces, carrying the faint scent of coastal sand and ancient stone, creating an atmosphere that is both haunting and reverent. Caral, sometimes referred to as the cradle of Andean civilization, dates to roughly 2,600 to 2000 BCE. It encompasses a complex of at least 6 large pyramids, numerous smaller mounds, plazas, and residential compounds, spread across an area of nearly 150 hectares. Archaeologists have marveled at the scale and sophistication of the city. Massive stone and adobe constructions, sunken circular plazas designed for ceremonial gatherings, and carefully organized residential spaces that hint at social hierarchy and urban planning long before the rise of the Inca. The precision with which the city was laid out and the monumental labor required to construct its pyramids suggests a society capable of organizing and sustaining large-scale projects without apparent reliance on draft animals, metal tools, or writing systems. Yet for all its apparent sophistication, Caral remains enveloped in mystery. How did a civilization so early in the timeline of human settlement on the continent develop the knowledge and social structures to construct pyramids, plazas, and terraces with such precision? Excavations have revealed musical instruments, including flutes made from bird bones and cane, suggesting that ritual, ceremony, and artistic expression were as central to Caral as labor and urban planning. The circular plazas, sunken below ground level, are thought to have been spaces for public gatherings, ritual performances, or astronomical observation. Could their design reflect cosmological principles, aligning with solstices or cardinal directions, connecting the city itself to the cycles of sun and sky? The architecture raises further questions. Unlike later Andean cities, Caral exhibits no evidence of defensive walls, weapons, or fortifications, despite its monumental scale. Was this a city built purely for ceremonial, economic, and social purposes, a hub of religious and cultural activity rather than military might? The pyramids, rising dramatically from the desert floor, are constructed with a blend of local stone and adobe, their stepped platforms suggesting careful engineering and planning. Could the geometry of these structures encode knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, or ritual practice, passed down through generations, yet leaving no written record. Speculative interpretations deepen the intrigue. Some researchers propose that Caral functioned as a spiritual and political center, where elite leaders organized labor, ritual, and trade, weaving social cohesion through monumental construction and ceremonial gatherings. Others suggest that the city may have encoded sophisticated knowledge of hydrology, as irrigation canals and agricultural terraces are integrated seamlessly into the desert landscape, indicating an understanding of water management that would have been crucial in such an arid environment. Could Caral have represented not only a center of power and ritual, but also a living laboratory for experimentation in agriculture, urban planning, and social organization, anticipating the complexity of later Andean civilizations? Walking through Caral today, the scale and subtlety of the city become immediately apparent. Terraces and pyramids rise gently from the desert, their proportions perfectly balanced against the horizon. Sunlight fractures along the edges of stone platforms, casting shadows that reveal stepped contours and carefully laid adobe bricks. The sunken plazas appear both intimate and monumental, spaces designed to hold gatherings yet harmonized with the larger urban layout. One can imagine processions, ceremonial performances, or astronomical observations unfolding within these spaces, echoing across millennia. The absence of fortifications enhances the sense of spiritual and civic purpose, as if the city itself was designed to command respect through scale, design, and presence rather than force. Modern archaeology has illuminated much of Caral's physical structure, revealing residential compounds, ceremonial platforms, and artifacts of daily and ritual life. Yet so much remains unknown. Could undiscovered chambers, hidden offerings, or subtle architectural alignments reveal more about the social, spiritual, and intellectual achievements of Caral's inhabitants? Are there symbolic patterns encoded in the geometry of pyramids, terraces, and plazas that have yet to be deciphered, linking urban planning with cosmology in ways we have not yet understood? Each excavation seems to raise further questions, highlighting the enduring enigma of this prehistoric metropolis. As the late afternoon sun bathes the pyramids and plazas in warm golden light, Caral emerges as a monument to human ingenuity, ambition, and mystery. Like Pukapukara, Cahuachi, and Tambo Colorado before it, the city challenges assumptions about prehistoric capabilities, revealing a culture capable of monumental architecture, social organization, and ceremonial sophistication long before the rise of the Inca. Its mounds, plazas, and terraces endure as silent witnesses to human creativity and spiritual expression. And as the desert wind sweeps across the sunken plazas and stone platforms, one is left with a profound question. What other knowledge, rituals, or hidden insights remain buried beneath the sands of Caral, waiting for those who would seek to uncover the full story of the America's first urban civilization? From the monumental pyramids and sunken plazas of Caral, where the earliest urban civilization in the Americas demonstrated astonishing architectural and societal sophistication, our journey climbs once more into the highlands of the Cusco region. Here, perched along the steep slopes overlooking the Urubamba River, lies Pisac, an Inca settlement that combines breathtaking engineering, precise urban planning, and a mysterious harmony between architecture and landscape. At first sight, Pisac appears as a cascade of terraces descending the mountainside, punctuated by clusters of stone structures, ceremonial platforms, and fortified enclosures. The wind carries the scent of highland flora, rustling through the terraces as the valley below opens into a patchwork of cultivated fields and winding paths. The site seems almost suspended between earth and sky, a testament to human ingenuity shaped and guided by the contours of the land. Pisac is widely recognized as a multifunctional site, blending defensive, residential, agricultural, and ceremonial purposes. Archaeologists note its strategic location. Perched high above the Vilcanota River, It provided a commanding view of the valley below, making it both a formidable defensive position and a central node in the Inca road network. Its terraces, stepped and supported by precisely cut stones, allowed for cultivation on otherwise inhospitable slopes, while its intricate system of water channels suggests mastery over hydraulics, ensuring both irrigation and management of runoff. Yet these terraces are not merely practical. Their scale, symmetry, and integration with natural features convey a sense of design that transcends function, inviting reflection on the relationship between humans, environment, and sacred space. Despite its apparent clarity of purpose, Pisac retains an air of enduring mystery. How did the Inca manage to sculpt mountainsides with such precision, moving massive stones without wheeled vehicles, draft animals, or metal tools capable of cutting through rock efficiently? The walls, terraces, and enclosures are aligned with striking accuracy, demonstrating not only technical skill but a possible understanding of geomancy, astronomical observation, or ceremonial symbolism. Could the terraces and stairways themselves have been designed as more than agricultural infrastructure, perhaps serving as sacred paths, ritual stages, or visual expressions of social hierarchy? And why does the site exhibit such a deliberate relationship to the surrounding landscape, from the river's course to distant peaks, suggesting alignment with natural and perhaps cosmological markers? The urban and ceremonial layout of Pisac is particularly intriguing. Stone compounds, trapezoidal doors, and precisely cut walls cluster across the mountainside, while open plazas punctuate the terraces at intervals, offering space for gatherings, observation, or ritual. Some researchers suggest that the uppermost sectors, including ceremonial towers and temples, functioned as sacred precincts, reserved for elite priests or rulers, while the lower terraces served a more practical role in food production and residence. Could the vertical organization of the site reflect social stratification, cosmological principles, or both, encoding hierarchy and sacred knowledge into the very form of the settlement? The interplay of terraces, plazas, and temples hints at a sophisticated vision of how daily life, ritual, and administration could coexist seamlessly within a single landscape. Speculative interpretations add another layer of intrigue. Certain terraces, walls, and structures appear deliberately oriented toward distant peaks, or along lines that some scholars believe mark solar, lunar, or planetary cycles. Could Pisac have functioned as a monumental observatory, where the movements of celestial bodies guided agricultural cycles, ceremonial timing, or even the social calendar of the valley? Others point to the integration of water channels, fountains, and drainage systems, suggesting that the site may have been as much a spiritual landscape as a practical one, with water serving both life-sustaining and symbolic purposes. Were these channels mere irrigation tools, or did flowing water symbolize sacred energy, cleansing, or communication with the divine? The evidence invites questions that remain unresolved, highlighting the enigmatic genius of the Inca. Walking through Pisac today, the scale and sophistication of the site become tangible. Terraces rise steeply, framed by sun-drenched stone walls that catch the light and shadow in dramatic patterns. Narrow stairways guide movement across levels, while open plazas and ceremonial platforms reveal vistas of the Urubamba Valley and the Andean ridges beyond. The wind whispers through corridors and along terraces, stirring loose stones and dust as though recalling centuries of footfalls, processions, and ritual observances. One can imagine priests, farmers, and rulers navigating these spaces, each step carefully choreographed by the site's architecture and orientation. Every wall, stairway, and terrace suggests intention, prompting reflection on how the Inca combined practical engineering with sacred geometry, landscape mastery, and social order. Modern archaeology has illuminated aspects of Pisac, from residential compounds to ceremonial plazas and terraces, yet much of the site remains unexplored or obscured by centuries of natural and human activity. Could hidden chambers, inscriptions, or artifacts reveal further insight into the daily life, spiritual practices, or administrative complexity of this highland city? Are there subtle alignments or geometric patterns that encode astronomical knowledge, cosmological symbolism, or ritual instructions, waiting for those able to decipher their meaning? Each layer of excavation seems to reveal both clarity and new mystery, reminding us that Pisac, like so many Andean sites, continues to challenge our understanding of human ingenuity. As the sun begins its descent behind the towering Andean ridges, casting Pisac's terraces and temples in a warm, golden glow, the site emerges as both a monument to human mastery and a puzzle that invites contemplation. Like Caral, Pukapukara, and Tambo Colorado before it, Pisac defies assumptions about what pre-Columbian civilizations could achieve, blending technical skill, architectural precision, and ritual sophistication into a seamless whole. The terraces, plazas, and temples endure as silent witnesses to centuries of human endeavor, spiritual practice, and social organization. And as the wind sweeps across the mountainside, carrying the faint echo of footsteps long vanished, one is left with a lingering question. What secrets, ceremonial knowledge, or advanced understanding remain encoded within Pisac's terraces and stone structures, waiting to reveal themselves to those willing to traverse the delicate harmony of earth, sky, and human ingenuity? From the terraced slopes and ceremonial complexity of Pisac, where the Inca mastered the interplay of earth, water, and ritual space, our journey follows the winding Urubamba River deeper into the sacred valley. Here, cradled between towering cliffs and fertile agricultural terraces, lies Ollantaytambo, a site of extraordinary engineering, architectural precision, and enduring mystery. From a distance, the settlement seems almost suspended between sky and earth. Massive terraces cascade down steep mountainsides, while imposing stone walls rise in rigid alignment, commanding both the river below and the surrounding valleys. The sound of rushing water blends with the whisper of wind through terraces and stairways, evoking a profound sense of scale and reverence. The town below, with its narrow cobblestone streets, echoes the urban organization of the Inca, but it is the fortress and ceremonial center above that captures the imagination, leaving observers to wonder at the capabilities of its builders. Ollantaytambo is widely recognized as a military stronghold, ceremonial center, and agricultural hub, built and expanded under the rule of Pachacuti in the 15th century. Its terraces, constructed from massive stones, stretch almost impossibly across steep slopes, allowing for the cultivation of crops while simultaneously reinforcing the mountainside against erosion and earthquake damage. The fortress itself, perched high above the valley, demonstrates an unparalleled understanding of defensive architecture. Walls are constructed from colossal stones, some weighing more than 50 tons, precisely cut and interlocked with such accuracy that even a knife blade cannot pass between them. How the Inca transported, shaped, and placed these stones with only manpower, ropes, and rudimentary tools remains a subject of awe and speculation. Yet beyond its practical military and agricultural functions, Ollantaytambo radiates an aura of deliberate ceremonial and symbolic design. The layout of terraces, plazas, and temples appears intentional, aligned with the contours of the mountain and possibly with solar, lunar, or stellar events. Some researchers propose that the orientation of walls and stairways allowed the observation of solstices or the tracking of celestial bodies, connecting earthly power with cosmic order. Could the precise angles and placements of stones reflect not only engineering skill, but an understanding of astronomy that guided ritual, agriculture, and governance? Are the terraces merely functional, or do they encode cosmological knowledge and sacred symbolism within the mountainside itself? The site's stonework deepens the sense of mystery. Unlike other Inca sites, Ollantaytambo features a variety of stone sizes and shapes, meticulously fitted without mortar, forming walls, niches, and terraces that have withstood centuries of seismic activity. Some boulders appear deliberately selected for their shape, texture, or alignment, while others have been finely polished to create striking visual effects. Could these choices have been purely aesthetic, or did they serve symbolic or ritual purposes, embedding meaning into the very stones themselves? The enormous stones of the Sun Temple, quarried from distant sources, pose further questions. How were they transported across rugged terrain, and why were they positioned with such precision on the mountainside? Speculative interpretations extend even further. Some theorists propose that Ollantaytambo served not only as a fortress and ceremonial center, but also as a spiritual conduit, a place where human effort, ritual, and sacred landscape converged. The terraces may have been designed to channel not only water but energy, guiding movement and perception through the site in a deliberate pattern. Certain walls and platforms appear oriented toward distant peaks or aligned with natural features of the valley, suggesting that the builders integrated topography into symbolic and ritual design. Could these alignments reflect a lost understanding of geomancy, cosmic balance, or sacred geography, known intimately to the Inca, but now partially obscured by time? Walking through Ollantaytambo today, the complexity of the site becomes immediately tangible. Narrow stairways wind between massive stone walls, leading to terraces that offer sweeping views of the valley below. The Sun Temple, with its precisely cut monoliths, commands attention, while open plazas and ceremonial platforms suggest spaces for ritual gatherings or elite activity. Each level, stairway, and wall appears designed not only to accommodate movement and observation, but to provoke reflection, awe, and engagement with the landscape. The wind rustles through the terraces, carrying echoes of human activity across centuries, and the stones themselves seem to hum with the accumulated energy of labor, ritual, and intention. Modern archaeology has illuminated some aspects of Ollantaytambo: terraces for agriculture, residential compounds, ceremonial plazas, and defensive fortifications. Yet many areas remain unexplored or obscured by centuries of natural and human alteration. Could hidden chambers, ritual niches, or unexamined boulders hold further evidence of advanced engineering, astronomical observation, or spiritual practice? Are there alignments, symbolic placements, or subtle architectural codes yet to be deciphered, waiting to reveal insights into Inca cosmology and urban design? Each discovery seems to deepen the mystery, emphasizing that even with extensive study, Ollantaytambo resists full comprehension. The terraces themselves tell a story of remarkable ingenuity. Each level is carefully constructed to retain soil and channel water, creating microclimates capable of sustaining diverse crops. Yet their scale and precision suggest an additional layer of meaning. Could the terraces have served as ceremonial stages, guiding pilgrims and observers along predetermined pathways to evoke particular experiences of the landscape, the valley, and the mountains beyond? The interplay of form, function, and perception creates a landscape that is at once practical and deeply symbolic, inviting us to consider how the Inca harmonized utility with spirituality, labor with ritual, and human construction with the natural environment. As the sun sinks behind the peaks flanking the sacred valley, casting elongated shadows across terraces and walls, Ollantaytambo emerges as a monument to human ingenuity, endurance, and mystery. Like Pisac, Pukapukara, and Caral before it, the site challenges assumptions about the capabilities of pre-Columbian civilizations, blending technical skill, architectural precision, and ceremonial sophistication into a single integrated complex. The terraces, stone walls, and ceremonial platforms endure as silent witnesses to centuries of human achievement, yet they also raise enduring questions. How did the Inca achieve such monumental feats of engineering without modern tools? What knowledge, astronomical, ritual, or symbolic, remains encoded within the terraces and stone alignments? And perhaps most compellingly, what secrets, wisdom, or lost practices are still hidden, waiting for those willing to trace the contours of the mountainside, to step along stairways carved into stone, and to listen to the silent stories whispered by Ollantaytambo's enduring walls? From the stone terraces and fortifications of Ollantaytambo, where the Inca orchestrated a sublime union of military precision, ceremonial space, and agricultural ingenuity, our journey descends once more into the arid coastal deserts of northern Peru. Here, rising subtly along the low ridges that punctuate the barren landscape, lies Chankillo, an ancient complex whose simplicity of form belies a sophistication of purpose that has only recently begun to be understood. At first glance, the site appears modest, a series of low, linear walls stretching across a hilltop, flanked by small ceremonial structures and enclosures that seem to hug the contours of the terrain. Yet as one observes more closely, it becomes evident that Chankillo is anything but ordinary. The alignment, scale, and precise orientation of its stone structures suggest a deliberate design that integrates architecture, astronomy, and ritual practice into a single enigmatic whole. Chankillo dates to approximately 300 BCE to 200 CE and was constructed by a pre-Inca culture along the arid north coast. Its most striking feature is the 13 Towers, a sequence of 13 carefully spaced stone towers set along a hill crest, forming a linear horizon marker visible from the surrounding valley. Researchers have determined that these towers functioned as a solar observatory, marking the rising and setting positions of the sun throughout the year. This arrangement allowed observers to track the solstices, equinoxes, and intermediate positions, effectively creating a calendar that linked time, agriculture, and ceremonial activity. Walking along the valley below, it is immediately apparent how the site dominates the horizon, drawing the eye to the rhythm of the towers and their celestial alignment. Yet Chankillo retains an air of profound mystery. While the function of the towers as a solar observatory has been documented, questions remain about the cultural and spiritual significance of the site. Why were such resources invested in constructing a precise astronomical alignment in a desert landscape that appears, at first glance, inhospitable? Could Chankillo have served not merely as a practical calendar for agricultural or ritual purposes, but also as a ceremonial or spiritual axis, linking humans, landscape, and cosmos in a deliberate cosmological schema? And what knowledge or techniques allowed its builders to plan and execute the alignment with such precision, millennia before the arrival of later Andean empires? The architectural and topographical integration of Chankillo is particularly striking. The 13 towers are positioned along a ridge in such a way that, from fixed observation points within the site, the sun appears to rise or set behind specific towers at key points of the solar year. This arrangement requires both precise measurement and careful selection of sight lines, implying a sophisticated understanding of horizon-based observation. Could these sight lines have also been aligned with other celestial or geographic markers, encoding additional layers of symbolic or ritual meaning? Some researchers have speculated that the surrounding ceremonial enclosures, platforms, and small mounds may have functioned as observation points or ritual spaces that reinforced the spiritual significance of the solar alignment. The desert landscape itself amplifies the enigmatic quality of Chankillo. Its arid, windswept terrain appears inhospitable, yet the site's builders transformed it into a living instrument of time, ritual, and possibly governance. Could the construction of Chankillo have served to unify disparate communities across the region, providing a shared celestial calendar that coordinated agricultural cycles, ceremonial observances, and social cohesion? Or might the site have been a sacred landscape in its own right, where the movement of the sun across the towers encoded spiritual narratives, cosmological principles, or the rhythms of human life in ways we have yet to fully understand. Speculative interpretations deepen the intrigue. Some scholars suggest that Chankillo may have functioned as a hybrid observatory ceremonial complex, where astronomical knowledge, ritual practice, and political authority intersected. The 13 towers may have guided not only practical activities such as planting or harvest cycles, but also sacred ceremonies aligned with solar events. Could these solar alignments have held symbolic significance, linking the cycles of the sun to fertility, life, and renewal? Others have proposed that the layout reflects a broader understanding of energy, geography, or sacred geography, encoding cosmological principles in the arrangement of stone, ridge, and valley. While the functional solar observatory has been established, the full cultural, spiritual, and intellectual context of Chankillo remains elusive. Walking among the ruins today, one is struck by the harmony of form and function. The linear array of towers follows the hill crest with almost mathematical precision, while ceremonial enclosures and platforms nestle naturally into the contours of the terrain. Shadows cast by the low sun shift across the towers in a manner that suggests deliberate visual effects, heightening the sense of choreography between light, stone, and observer. One can imagine ancient priests, astronomers, and community members observing the sunrise or sunset from these platforms, guided by the subtle cues of the towers and terraces. Each movement, each observation, may have carried layered meaning, practical, ritual, and symbolic, reminding us that Chankillo was more than a simple observatory. Modern archaeological research has revealed much about Chankillo's solar function, but many mysteries endure. The surrounding structures, enclosures, and terraces have yet to be fully understood. Could there be additional alignments or symbolic placements hidden in plain sight, encoding knowledge lost over centuries? Are there undiscovered chambers, ritual spaces, or artifacts that could reveal the social, political, or spiritual dimensions of this remarkable site? And beyond the physical structures, what insights might emerge if we could reconstruct the rituals, processions, and communal activities that once brought Chankillo to life? Each new excavation and observation seems to answer one question while prompting many more. As the sun sets over the barren ridges, casting long shadows from the 13 towers across the desert floor, Chankillo emerges as both a monument to human ingenuity and a testament to the enduring enigma of prehistoric Andean culture. Like Ollantaytambo, Pisac, and Caral before it, the site challenges modern assumptions about the capabilities of ancient societies, blending precision, ritual, and landscape in ways that continue to inspire awe. Its towers, terraces, and ceremonial enclosures endure as silent witnesses to the vision, knowledge, and determination of its builders. And as the wind stirs the sands around these ancient stones, one is left with a lingering question. What further knowledge, rituals, or hidden insights remain encoded within Chankillo, waiting for those patient enough to follow the sun across the ridge and to uncover the full depth of this prehistoric marvel? From the precise solar alignments and desert ridges of Chankillo, where early Andean peoples orchestrated the movement of the sun into monumental stone, our journey traces the arc of pre-Columbian ingenuity into the high Andes, where the mountains themselves rise like cathedrals into the clouds. Here, perched on a narrow ridge between the Urubamba River and towering peaks, lies Machu Picchu, a site whose very name evokes awe, reverence, and enduring mystery. The first glimpse of the city, revealed through the mist that drifts over its terraces and temples, is nothing short of sublime. Stone walls rise with precise geometry from steep slopes, terraces cascade like steps into the abyss, and the surrounding mountains loom as guardians of this enigmatic sanctuary. The air is thin, fragrant with alpine flora, and carries the faint roar of rivers tumbling through the deep valley below. It is a place that seems both impossibly constructed and perfectly at home within the rugged landscape, a testament to human vision, ingenuity, and perhaps something beyond practical necessity. Machu Picchu was built in the mid-15th century under the reign of Pachacuti, yet despite centuries of study, its exact purpose remains a matter of speculation. The city exhibits remarkable integration of architecture, hydrology, and topography. Terraces prevent erosion, cultivate crops, and modulate microclimates. Water channels and fountains demonstrate an advanced understanding of hydraulics, channeling mountain springs with precision that ensures both functionality and aesthetic harmony. Structures such as the Intihuatana stone, the Temple of the Sun, and the Room of the Three Windows are aligned with celestial events, suggesting that astronomy and ritual were integral to the site's design. How did the builders, without modern machinery or metal tools capable of cutting granite, transport massive stones with such precision across steep, irregular terrain? How did they conceive of a city that so seamlessly marries urban planning, agriculture, ritual space, and defensive consideration? The urban and ceremonial layout of Machu Picchu presents layers of deliberate complexity. Residential areas, plazas, and religious precincts are organized along the ridge, with stone stairways and terraces linking levels in a way that seems designed to guide movement, perception, and perhaps even spiritual experience. Could the placement of temples, observatories, and fountains have encoded knowledge of cosmology, seasonal cycles, or the alignment of the sun, moon, and stars? Some researchers argue that the city functioned as a royal retreat, a ceremonial center, and a religious sanctuary simultaneously, blending practicality with profound symbolic purpose. Others suggest that Machu Picchu may have been a site of initiation, pilgrimage, or observation, where rulers and priests enacted rituals that connected earthly governance to celestial order. The stones themselves remain a source of wonder. Walls are constructed with the Inca technique of ashlar masonry. Massive blocks are cut, shaped, and interlocked with such precision that mortar was unnecessary. The stones fit together so tightly that even the thinnest blade cannot pass between them. Seismic activity, which has toppled countless structures in the Andes over centuries, leaves Machu Picchu remarkably intact, a silent testament to Inca engineering. How was such precision achieved in a region with limited tools? Were there methods, now lost to history, that allowed the Inca to move and manipulate these massive stones with ease? Some theorists speculate that advanced techniques or knowledge of leverage, geometry, and perhaps principles of resonance or energy were employed, ideas that remain tantalizingly speculative, yet underscore the extraordinary ingenuity of the site. Speculative interpretations of Machu Picchu extend into its astronomical and spiritual dimensions. The Intihuatana stone, for example, is aligned with solstitial and equinoctial events, suggesting that it may have functioned as a ritual sundial or celestial anchor. The positioning of the Temple of the Sun and the Room of the Three Windows appears to frame specific mountain peaks, shadows, and light patterns at key moments of the solar calendar. Could the city itself have been conceived as a cosmogram, encoding the movement of the heavens into stone, water, and pathway? Was Machu Picchu a place where rulers could commune with celestial forces, regulate agricultural cycles, and enact ceremonial authority simultaneously, blending science, religion, and governance into a single living landscape? Walking through Machu Picchu today, the sense of deliberate choreography is palpable. Terraces descend in orderly cascades, stairways connect plazas to temples, and narrow corridors guide movement across levels with a subtle sense of rhythm and purpose. Sunlight fractures against stone walls, illuminating niches, windows, and terraces in ways that seem designed to provoke reflection, awe, and insight. The surrounding peaks, shrouded in mist or glowing in the morning sun, frame the city in a natural amphitheater that amplifies both its beauty and its mystery. One can almost sense the processions, the chants, the ceremonial gatherings that might have unfolded across plazas and terraces, connecting human endeavor with mountain, sky, and river in a choreography that endures silently through time. Modern archaeology has revealed extensive details: residential compounds, ritual precincts, agricultural terraces, and water management systems. Yet many questions remain unresolved. Could undiscovered chambers, ritual artifacts, or subtle alignments reveal further insights into the social, spiritual, and intellectual life of Machu Picchu's inhabitants? Are there encoded messages, astronomical markers, or symbolic patterns hidden within the terraces, stairways, and stone walls, offering knowledge that we have yet to fully perceive? Each investigation seems to reveal more ingenuity, while simultaneously deepening the mystery, highlighting that Machu Picchu, like Chankillo, Ollantaytambo, and Pisac before it, resists complete understanding. The site's integration with the natural landscape is among its most remarkable features. Terraces are not merely functional, but sculpt the mountainside in harmony with its contours. Water flows through channels and fountains, not only supporting life but enhancing visual and spiritual experience. Buildings and platforms appear to frame vistas of sacred peaks, directing attention to specific points on the horizon that may have held ritual significance. Could the city have functioned as a bridge between earthly life and the cosmos, where every stone, pathway, and terrace contributes to a subtle, orchestrated dialogue with nature and the heavens? As the afternoon sun begins to dip behind Huayna Picchu, casting long shadows over terraces, plazas, and temples, Machu Picchu emerges as both an architectural masterpiece and a profound mystery. Like the earlier sites of Caral, Pukapukara, and Chankillo, it challenges assumptions about the limits of prehistoric engineering, astronomical observation, and societal organization. The terraces, temples, and stone walls endure as silent witnesses to human ingenuity, spiritual expression, and technical mastery. And as mist rises from the valley, curling around terraces and stairways, one is left with a lingering question. What secrets, rituals, or knowledge remain hidden within Machu Picchu's stones, terraces, and sacred spaces, waiting to be uncovered by those patient enough to trace the pathways, observe the sun's movement, and contemplate the enduring genius of this Andean marvel? From the sacred terraces and cloud-kissed temples of Machu Picchu, where the Inca orchestrated the interplay of stone, sky, and ritual, our journey descends once again to the arid coast of northern Peru, to a landscape that is both forbidding and fertile, where the desert meets the broad river valleys of the Ancash region. Here, rising from the flat plains near the Sechin River, lies Sechin, an archaeological complex that dates back more than 4,000 years, a site that whispers of power, ritual, and a civilization whose intentions remain partially obscured by the passage of millennia. Unlike the soaring heights and verdant terraces of the Andes, Sechin is grounded in the desert, its monumental structures and intricately carved stones confronting the horizon with a stark and uncompromising presence. The air shimmers in the heat, carrying the faint scent of sand, stone, and distant riverbeds, while the ruins themselves emerge like a mirage. Vast plazas, stepped platforms, and friezes of stone that record events frozen in time, yet whose meanings provoke more questions than answers. Sechin is part of a larger complex that includes Sechin Alto, Cerro Sechin, and several subsidiary sites along the coastal valleys, collectively representing one of the oldest monumental civilizations in the Americas. The site is distinguished by its massive platform mounds, meticulously arranged plazas, and, most famously, the carved stone friezes at Cerro Sechin. These friezes, some as tall as 3 meters, depict human figures, dismembered bodies, and abstract motifs, executed with astonishing detail and precision. Archaeologists interpret these images as ceremonial, martial, or symbolic, yet their exact purpose remains unknown. Why would a society invest so heavily in depicting scenes of violence or ritualized combat, etched into stone that would endure for millennia? Were these friezes warnings, commemorations, or part of religious practice? The ambiguity invites speculation and careful reflection. The architecture of Sechin Alto, one of the largest platform mounds in the Americas, is equally remarkable. Covering more than 7 hectares, it consists of terraces and stepped platforms rising in strict geometrical alignment, creating a monumental presence on the otherwise flat landscape. The scale of construction suggests a centralized authority capable of organizing labor, sourcing stone, and coordinating architectural knowledge on a previously unimagined scale for the period, roughly 1600 to 1000 BCE. Could such a society, without wheeled transport, metal tools, or draft animals, have mobilized the resources necessary to erect these colossal platforms? Or does the site hint at techniques and knowledge now lost to history? The question lingers, unanswered yet profoundly compelling. Sechin's location further amplifies its enigmatic quality. Situated in a desert valley subject to seasonal floods and seismic activity, the construction of massive stone platforms and terraces demonstrates not only technical skill, but an intimate understanding of landscape, water, and stability. Could the placement of plazas and platforms correspond to astronomical events, agricultural cycles, or ritual calendars? Some researchers propose that Sechin's orientation aligns with solstitial sunrise and sunset positions, suggesting that its builders observed celestial patterns with the same meticulous precision later seen at Chankillo and Machu Picchu. If so, what knowledge did they possess of astronomy, geometry, and environmental observation, and how was it encoded in the architecture and reliefs of the site? The friezes at Cerro Sechin are among the most haunting aspects of the complex. Their execution reflects extraordinary skill, with figures carved in bas-relief that convey movement, expression, and narrative. Human forms are depicted in violent acts, with dismembered limbs and ritualistic postures, suggesting a society profoundly engaged with concepts of death, sacrifice, or power. Yet these interpretations remain speculative. Could the friezes represent mythological narratives, historical events, or symbolic representations of social order and authority? Some have suggested that the violent imagery was intended to assert dominance, to intimidate neighboring communities, or to sanctify the platforms above. Others propose that the images encode astronomical or calendrical knowledge, with each figure, posture, and tool serving a dual symbolic and practical function. The truth, like the stones themselves, is both present and elusive, inviting careful observation and contemplation. Sechin Alto and its surrounding sites also reveal a remarkable integration of geometry, urban planning, and social organization. Terraces and platforms are laid out with consistent proportions. Plazas are proportioned to accommodate large gatherings, and walls appear designed to withstand both natural and human pressures. Could these patterns reflect not only aesthetic and functional considerations, but also social hierarchy, ritual choreography, or cosmological alignment? Might the scale and precision of construction have been intended to impress, to unify, or to enact spiritual authority over both people and landscape? Each stone seems deliberately chosen, each wall deliberately aligned, suggesting a conscious blending of practical engineering and symbolic meaning. Speculative theories have emerged over time, inspired by the striking imagery and monumental scale of Sechin. Some propose that the site was a ritual center for a culture deeply invested in the symbolic interplay of life, death, and the cosmos. Others suggest that the architecture encoded agricultural, astronomical, or calendrical knowledge, critical to survival in the harsh coastal desert. Could it also have functioned as a demonstration of political authority, a statement of power intended to consolidate control over surrounding valleys and communities? Perhaps all of these interpretations intersect, hinting at a society capable of integrating spiritual, practical, and social imperatives into a single, cohesive landscape. Walking through Sechin today, the enormity and subtlety of the site become tangible. Terraces rise in measured steps, plazas open into the desert, and carved stones record human presence and intent across millennia. The sun casts sharp shadows across the friezes, illuminating details that seem to shift with each angle of observation, offering fleeting glimpses of narrative and meaning. One can imagine ritual gatherings on the platforms, processions through the plazas, or the silent observation of celestial events by priests and astronomers. The desert wind whispers across stone surfaces, carrying echoes of ceremonies, labor, and human ingenuity long vanished, yet leaving a palpable trace in the enduring architecture. Modern archaeology has revealed much about Sechin's construction, layout, and artistic expression, but fundamental mysteries remain. Are there undiscovered chambers, unexamined reliefs, or subtle alignments that could further illuminate the social, ritual, and scientific knowledge of its builders? How were massive stones transported, quarried, and precisely shaped without metal tools or draft animals? And what cultural or spiritual significance did the violent imagery of the friezes hold? Warnings, myths, or ritual expressions that remain beyond our full comprehension. Each answer seems to deepen the enigma, emphasizing that Sechin, like Machu Picchu, Ollantaytambo, and Chankillo before it, invites more questions than it resolves. As the sun dips low over the arid horizon, casting long shadows across stepped platforms and carved stones, Sechin emerges as both a monument to human ingenuity and a profound mystery. Its terraces, plazas, and friezes endure as silent witnesses to a culture capable of monumental construction, intricate artistry, and sophisticated social and ceremonial organization. And yet, despite millennia of study, its purpose and the full scope of its knowledge remain obscured, leaving us to wonder, what further secrets, ritual practices, or advanced understanding lie hidden beneath the platforms, encoded in the friezes, or concealed within the desert sands, waiting for those patient and perceptive enough to uncover the full story of Sechin?